really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this DJ?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Bros, and we are live. Wow, that was one hell of an intro. What do you guys think about that intro, man?
Dude, I fucking love it, man. That's such a oh god. We have improved, and we get to keep more of our revenue now that we don't have to share with Base.
Yeah.
Sorry, Base Nectar, but you're not getting any more money from us.
Yeah, for sure, right?
New intro feels good, and the clips are good too. I like how everybody's got their little personality in there.
Yeah, dude. Shout out to Josh, one of our other producers, who was the one that created that new intro for us. Man, that I mean, I'm gonna go on record and say that I actually like that way better than our first one, and not just because we don't have to share any more of our revenue, but just because it sounds a whole lot better. So shout out for Josh. Shout out to Josh for taking care of that and creating that new intro for us. But welcome, you filthy degenerates, to another episode of the DGen Roundtable. I am your host, Agent J, and as always, joined by my handsome co-hosts and panel members, Zenith and Will. Guys, what's going on, man? What have you guys been up to? How's your week been?
I think you mentioned this when we were in the green room, but this has been a crazy week for crypto. Then also, I'd argue overall for everybody on the team. We've basically been streaming every day this week, so it's been pretty wild. And I got to say, like, market's pumping as well, so that feels good to boot.
That is an understatement.
Yo, it's
in your will.
Hell of a week, my guy. Hell of a fucking week. I just got done yesterday hanging out with some dudes, friends of mine over down nearby Austin. I went down there and I did a podcast with it. It's actually going to be launching tonight at 8 o'clock here Central Time. So about 1 hour from now, the Proper Thieves podcast. I'll be dropping links in the description after we're done with this stream and everything. But bros, it was an excellent time. I went down there. We were like smoking cigars, hanging out, chilling out, talking. We did like some ice plunges and shit as soon as we were done with the podcast. Bro, it was killer, dude. It was a great time. I loved it.
Sounds like some serious dude stuff.
Yeah, how'd the ice plunges feel, man? I've always heard hype around those things. Never actually tried it myself, but I know a lot of Russian dudes that do it.
Yep. I love it, man. Not because it feels good. It's terrible. It's awful, and I hate it. But like, I think that it's very important to do difficult things as often as possible. And so, like, when I'm not doing like cold water plunges or things like that, then I will start. You know how like when you start the shower up and you wait for the water to warm up? I don't do that. I start the shower up, and then whatever the speed is, whatever the temperature is that it takes, like in the time that it takes to get warm or whatever, it's like, life sucks. And then like at the very end of the shower, I'll always turn the hot water off first and just sit there in the cold water and be like, man, life can be really difficult sometimes. So it's good to, like, force yourself to do difficult things when you have control. So that way, when you don't have control, you're just a little bit more prepared for it. But anyways, bro, it's kick ass. It gets your adrenaline spiking. You get out there, like you get in the water, you break the 3 barriers. Like the first barrier, when you get into the cold water, it feels horrible. And then you sit in there for a minute, and the heat from your body will warm up the water, like surrounding your body, like a little force field kind of thing. You break that barrier, and then you break that barrier a second time, and then after that, it's just like it's all over. And then you can get out and stuff. But yeah, that's the way that we do it.
It's like you said, it's a version of exposure therapy to difficult things in life, right? It's like a microdose. If you get through the cold plunges, then you probably have a better chance of getting through some of the potential tragedies that are inevitably coming our way, right? Or it could just be a damn good way to wake you up in the morning, get the blood pressure up, just jump in the
Yes.
shower. Don't wait for the water to get warm. Just jump in there during the cold.
Absolutely right.
I mean, all of that's
Shit,
true. Jay, you got a good point. It's pretty much just microdosing pain on a daily basis so that you get used to it. Shoot, I remember college days I was running track. They banned the ice bathtubs because I guess MRSA or whatever was going around in a lot of the colleges. And also the football team took absolute priority. So we'd like run back to the barracks and then you just like take a ice shower and you just try to crank it as cold as you can. So
well,
I would
pain
recommend
now,
doing it
so you don't
after
feel
a
pain
workout.
later.
That would, I don't know what it would do to your muscles after a workout. That's gotta suck.
Oh,
would wanna do
no,
it
it's
before.
actually, so ice baths are very good for you post-workout. I guess Coach Z coming out here a little bit. So when you work out, you are effectively destroying your muscles. You get what's called a bunch of free radicals. Basically, imagine that your cells are breaking apart and all the little inside bits are released into like the neighboring matrix. When you take an ice bath, what you're actually doing is on a microscopic level, you're trying to sort of freeze and recapture all that stuff and rebuild the cells. So that way it's easier for your muscles to rebuild what was just destroyed. So if you're actually doing hard workouts, ice baths are very good for recovery, and hot baths are actually not that great for recovery. Hot baths are great for loosening muscles, but that's pretty much like day of hard workout. Afterwards, do an ice bath. If you're still feeling kind of sore the next day, that's where a hot bath might come into account. And then also, hot baths are detrimental to performance, like within 24 hours, because basically what it's doing is it's relaxing your muscles and it's also sapping energy out of you effectively because you're trying to cool your
that's
body
what
off.
he does. It's a release of energy.
That is
pretty much.
interesting.
Yeah.
That
Hey
is
guys, a
interesting.
little bit of caveat here.
Yeah.
Zenith is correct. Those ice baths are good if you are an athlete and you're engaging in very hard workouts and you're like, let's say you're a multi-sport athlete. Zenith, you did track and field back in high school, right? So this man is a multi-sport athlete. If you're an average Joe just getting a workout in the gym, ice baths right after your average Joe workout is not a good idea, because what that ice bath is going to do is going to blunt your recovery process, right? Like Zenith said, what you're effectively doing during a workout is you are creating tears in your muscle, right? And so if you jump into an ice bath right after, that is going to blunt the recovery process significantly, which is what you're trying to do, right? When you're bodybuilding, you're trying to break down and you're trying to build. So context there. If you're an athlete, like for example, CrossFitters, track and field athletes, great for them, right? Because they have to be able to recover to some degree and jump right back into the next sport. But if you're just an average Joe, you know, you can just do what Will does and jump in a cold shower in the morning and wake your ass up. Don't complicate things.
Yo, have you guys seen what has happened in the chats? We got fucking Antoine over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yo,
Showing
Mr.
some
Producer,
love.
yes, showing some love. Love how crazy y'all are growing. Thank you, Antoine. I met this personal
sir.
DGen down in Florida, and I gotta say, man, like if you guys ever have the chance to go hang out with Antoine down nearby Miami, like what a cool cat, bro. Thank you so much for this. This is fantastic, and we don't have to send 25% of the revenue to Base Nectar anymore. So we get more of the money nowadays.
Yeah, man.
So this is excellent. Thanks, bro. That is super awesome. Big shout out to Antoine. Crazy
Thank you
cool
very
member of
much.
the community here.
Yeah, man.
He's not wrong
Antoine
though.
is,
Our growth. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say Antoine's back from Jersey like I am, so I know he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also
Yes, he
entirely
is.
right. The growth that we've been experiencing lately is astronomical. Since the beginning of the year, our subscriber count has effectively 2x'd. And we can only thank everybody that keeps showing up for this and people like Antoine that are willing to help support the cause. And we greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And we want to keep putting out great content to educate and entertain.
Absolutely. And you know, if somebody could create a chart of the DGen Roundtable subscriber count against its Bitcoin peer, we're up against our Bitcoin peer. So
That's true.
We're up against our Bitcoin peers. God damn it.
We appear to have a super chat from M Double Crypto as well. I don't know
let's
how
go
the
ahead
hell I
and
missed that one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and say hi to the chat. Like Will said, MBB Crypto with the $12. That euro? That's euro, right? Maybe. Read
That's
my message.
pounds.
I'll open the
Those are
group.
pounds.
pounds because I cannot leave
Yeah.
it here. So, good thing I am well versed in shorthand.
my
Thank you
message.
for everything, DGens. Thanks to Dace for helping me DCA and the RHs. I'm assuming the RH ecosystem. Still no dips. He didn't want beer money and told me to leave the money here. I won't be forced to eat the bugs in the 2030s. Plus, shout out to Chocolate Taint and Nate. Please promote Jeff's Friends Fire Fund. Yes, if you guys don't know, our buddy Jeff, one of his good friends, his house burned down. We don't really know the entire details of it. We just know that it happened. And Jeff has helped start a GoFundMe for his neighbor. They're all okay, pets and everybody else. So that's good news. So, but hey, man, M Double Crypto, thank you very much for the $12, 12 pounds. I'm gonna get these denominations right. And Antoine for the $99 super chat. Fast Abdul, let's talk bribe Janet. Hey, Fast Abdul, you know my aunt Janet? She's in Oregon, man. Shout out to my aunt Janet. The Ascending Man, my man Nate. Have fun, guys. Hey, enjoying your Super Bowl. Crypto Boogie, good to see you here, buddy. Drip Fortune, dude, why the hell are you guys streaming during the Super Bowl? Well, if you can't tell, my friend, some of us are not here because they are watching the Super Bowl. Taint, Bean, Nate, they're all supporting their teams watching the Super Bowl. The guys that are here with you now, we don't participate in the sports balls. We like to spend our leisure time elsewhere, and that just happens to be here on the stream with you folks, talking about crypto, talking about the markets, man. So everybody's got their way that they want to spend their leisure time. We just, we'd rather be here talking to you folks, spending time with you here, talking about crypto. So,
Jay, I broke out the sports ball merch. I mean, wrong sport, but Seattle Kraken. I got my hockey team gear on.
Ooh, Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, I was in the
Seattle had a
area, so I
hockey
figured Yeah, they're actually the newest franchise in the NHL. I can't remember when they got established. They're like less than a decade old. So I figured if I was suffering in Washington, they were suffering in Washington, we can suffer together.
Yeah,
Zenith,
for sure.
I don't know if my brother told you during your guys' podcast, but we grew up in Port Angeles. There's a little Coast Guard base up there. Did you have the chance to stop by there on your way in and out? I'm presuming you traveled by boat if it was during Coast Guard times.
Not quite. So when I'm familiar with the unit because I worked with them when I was doing my engineering stuff up in Washington.
Yeah.
We basically produced one of our prototype boats in north of Seattle, and then we had to deliver it to Oregon, and they didn't want to put it on a truck to carry it, and that made sense. So what the contractors that we worked with was we just road tripped the boat down the coast all the way to Oregon, and Port Angeles
you took
was one of the
101?
places we stopped off for the night.
Bro, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
Didn't road trip on 101, but we took the water route. We basically rode the coast.
Hell yeah, bro. That's kick ass.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and finish off saying hi to the folks in the chat here. Last but not least, we got Stevie Summertime Breezy. What is up, everyone? And then Drip Fortune here with the first question of the evening. How do you guys feel about the PRC/ERC 404s? All I know, my friend, is that one of those 404s is a new Pepe coin and that it has done extremely well. But aside from that, I have not had the time to look into the PRC/ERC 404s. Will, Zenith, are you guys familiar with it? I think it was probably either Billy, or Nate that dropped the 404 thing on our chat. But do you guys have any insight on that or nah?
I threw lottery scratcher money. That's it. Go ahead, Zenith.
I was going to say more research is required on the ERC PRC 404s, but my understanding is that they are fractionalized NFT tokens. What that means is if you watch the Hex conference, I forget who it was. It was our two validator friends. They actually had their own. Sorry?
David Feeder.
David Feeder. Yes, correct. He was one of them. They were talking about how you need 32 million polls to be a validator, but they were creating a new program or a new project where you could have fractionalized validators effectively, which is that you purchase an NFT, which is locking up a certain amount of your pulse. It's not the full 32 million, but it's basically saying we're going to make validators, and I guess the best term to relate this to is like a timeshare condo. You basically timeshare condo out a pulse validator by buying an NFT that represents a fraction. It is my understanding is that is the concept behind the 404s, which is fractionalized NFT ownership.
Gotcha.
So you're sort of in the right zone. I dropped the link in the chat for the DGen Protocol.io NFTs. So what you're talking about And this is not, they're not affiliated with the DGen Roundtable. They just happen to have the same name as us. But the way that it's similar, Zenith. The ERC 304 or 404s, excuse me. What they are is it's fraction. It's, you can own coins, right? And you can buy like percentages of coins. But if you own whole numbers of coins, then you are minted an NFT out of owning a whole number. You can hold like 0.25 of a coin, like 25% of one coin. You can hold however many you want. But once you split one coin into multiple parts, then the NFT is burned, and you can send the coins to other wallets. You can trade them on exchanges. You can do all that stuff. The one that I bought was the Gophers on Pulse, developed by Mr. Dipcatcher. So Sami was talking about it for a while. So those of you guys who are not familiar with your friend Sami, go check out his channel. He was talking about the Gophers, and there's just a whole bunch of them, like Jay was saying. I hopped in on the Gophers one really fucking early, so that's looking nice right now. I just threw lottery scratcher money at it as soon as I saw Sami just mentioned it. But like, I'm not endorsing it at all. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to rug or if it's going to do whatever. But on the other thing that you were talking about, Zenith, is the DGen protocol. The DGen protocol is actually really cool. Those are some of the guys that I want to interview at some point on this channel. I own a shit ton of their NFTs that are for validators. Those things are actually really cool. The way that it works is you spend 500 Pulse and you get minted one GOAT NFT. And an infinite number of GOAT NFTs can be minted. They're all being ran on the validator computers that David Feeder is running and organizing and stuff. So basically, whenever people put Pulse into this NFT protocol thing, you get split ownership of like a validator. So like each NFT costs 500,000 Pulse, right? So roughly, what would that be, like 50 or 60 bucks or something like that? Or well, I don't know. The price has gone up, so I don't know what it costs right now. But anyways, you spend 500,000 Pulse and you get minted one GOAT, and there could be an infinite number of GOATs minted. Like, you get a GOAT NFT. Oh man, what am I missing, Jay? So
Yeah, I'm dead, bro.
What's up?
There's an infinite number of goats that can be minted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make as many goats as you want, bro. I'm not sure I don't know what's funny. This is going right over my head.
It's just the nature of the conversation, bro. It's like, oh, you can.
Oh.
When you hear the phrase, you can mint as many goats.
Okay. I'm glad you're enjoying this.
I just think the phrasing is so fucking hilarious, bro.
All right.
Jay's just in the market for a new animal ever since his camel got,
Oh man, I'm glad you're enjoying this. This is amusing. But the point is, there's no cap on the number of NFTs that can be created. So however, because like one validator computer can run like something like, I think David was saying, like it can run somewhere around like 1,000 validators or something on one computer. So that's what, like 32 million times 1,000. That's like 3.2 billion. Or no, that's 32 billion. 32 billion Pulse on one computer or something like that, right? So anyways, you can mint as many of these NFTs as you want. You can sell them, you can trade them, you can send them to other people, but the owning the NFT prints you a daily amount of GOAT token. And GOAT is it's essentially swappable. So like one GOAT token is worth like 1.2 Pulse, something along those lines. And like the GOAT will always be worth more than Pulse because of the nature of its minting and its creation. And every time that you mint GOAT or you burn GOAT to redeem it, every time that GOAT is printed, there's a 5% tax or something like that, and it takes it and it burns the the GOAT token, or no, it sends the Pulse from that tax into a permanent liquidity pool or something like that. So anyways, the point is, like, GOAT will always be a slightly higher than Pulse because of the mint and redeem function. So every time that you create GOAT out of thin air, or you destroy GOAT to create Pulse, or to like get your Pulse back out of the pool, there's a slight tax on both side of the process. So anyways, that tax goes to pay for the GOAT feeder. It goes to pay for GOAT. It pays and the GOAT is the greatest of all time token, so that's why it's called the GOAT token. But it's super cool, man. I highly suggest you guys check it out. I'll drop a link in the YouTube or in the description below, or not the description. I'll drop a link in the chat for David Feeder. He goes through like a 30-minute video that describes like the entire DGen protocol, and it's super cool and everything. They have a GOAT feeder thing. It's wicked awesome. I love it. But he came out with that video shortly after the after the Hex conference. So, anyways,
Gotcha.
yes, it's super cool, super cool program. But I want to talk to those guys and pick their brain on some stuff. But I use their shit like very heavily. And yeah, back to the question of the PRC 404s. I just bought the Gopher one because I thought it was funny, and that's all I know
Yeah,
about it.
well, there you go, Mr. Drip Fortune. I think we've given you some insight from both Mr. Zenith and Mr. Will here.
I just
hey,
hope I was accurate. I
Oh, yeah.
need to research more on this, but I think I have the general concept at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the DGen protocol NFTs, those are regular NFTs. Those are regular ERC 721s or whatever NFT ERC program is. The goat NFTs are regular NFTs, and then the new stuff that came out, the 404 stuff, that is all just it's essentially just fractionalized NFTs and
Gotcha.
things like that. So they're fungible. So they're just NTs, I suppose, is how I see it. Or no, they're FTs. They're fungible tokens, not
man.
NFTs.
But hey, welcome to the rest of the. We got a whole bunch of people rolling in right now.
Oh,
Tam came in. Moonpill Rational Optics, Gains by Casey, Hexagon Lost in Asia. We got a whole bunch of people tuning in right now, so I guess you guys aren't super sports ball fans either, and we'd rather listen to some crypto news. Hey, you know what? We're gonna go over that for sure. Antoine asked, what are you boys most excited about? The little pump we're seeing, and not Lil Pump the artist, but the little pump that we're seeing in the markets right now. We're actually gonna go over a few of that during the stream. Z, did you have something, bro?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out Gains by Casey. I got to say, nobody works harder than this guy right here. He is a cryptocurrency investor, gym owner, pillar of his community, and he slings pizza by night for more dry powder to buy up crypto. So that man works overtime. So absolutely, hats off to him.
Yo, dude, that is what I'm talking about. I don't have a drink to cheers to you, man, but I would if I did, because that is fantastic. That's exact. No excuses, man. I mean,
no excuses.
Runs his own business, right? Entrepreneur. Researches crypto, and then has like with whatever time he has left during the evenings, he's out there hustling for more dry powder so that he could throw it in the market. That's what I'm talking about, bro. That's somebody who really, when you talk about somebody who really wants to get out the fucking rat race, there's a great example for you guys right there, Casey. So yeah, brother. Hey, since we're on the topic of Pulse Chain, this is so fantastic because we were talking about this a few days ago in the chat about Hex and how I always found it silly that once Pulse Chain released, there was this large schism between the people who wanted Pulse Chain to succeed and then the people who want Hex to succeed, and they were like kind of at each other's necks, right? So it's like you develop maxis within like the maxi community. And then when that happened, guys, there was this one specific video that popped into my head. I don't know why I never shared it until now, but I'm gonna share it with you guys. This is how I felt watching the P-Hex versus E-Hex Maxi Wars as an audience member. Okay, I'm gonna share it. Give me 1 second.
I am a little bit excited for this. I've not heard this before. This is pretty cool. We've got some more comments while Jay's pulling all that up. This is the only winning team I care about. Hell yeah. Excellent. Great job. Oh man, Tam is blowing up the chats. We appreciate it very much. Gains by Casey. I only have one Super Bowl square that I'm hoping to convert for dry powder, which is the only reason checking in on the game. All right, Jay, you got the thing that you need?
Yeah, can you guys see my screen?
I cannot yet. There we go.
Wonderful.
Oh, this is the E-Hex P-Hex debate?
Yeah, this is the E-Hex versus P-Hex Maxis. I would say E-Hex on the right here with the white gi because they're the original, and then P-Hex appropriately with the blue gi. Here you go.
その期待に応えることはできるか。まずはこのミラーリング波動拳を打ち消し合って目の前1発2発3発4発5発さあ綺麗に受け止めるシンガーこれが竜の V スキルそしてさあまずは白いサフィがさあコンボでダメージを取っていく竜の代表的な技そしてこのすごい投げさあスタン攻めは上からいってそこからここで投げを抜けてさあ今度は黒い板山竜の反撃となる決めてどんどんターゲットを奪っていくスタンバで一気に即答蹴りさあ今度はこれはガードブレイク技さあそしてどうなるガードしている本当に演武なのか真空波動拳波動拳
Oh,
Pretty good.
that's pretty good. That's
What
pretty
guys,
good.
what I say, man. It's like that's what I think about when I think about the P Hex versus the E Hex Maxis fighting it out, bro. Like we're just members of the audience just getting entertained, right? And the reason why I like that video so much is like, when Pulse Chain released and E Hex was taking over, like we saw the ratio go up as high as like 1 to 4, right? And everybody was thinking, oh, of course, this is par for the course, right? This is what everybody thought was going to be, right? Pulse, like the P Hex is going to take some time to catch up. And then P Hex starts catching up and eventually hits parity. And then eventually like goes past E Hex in terms of like the ratios. And everybody's like, oh, what's going to happen? Is it going to become like 2-1 now? And then at the end, the P Hex and E Hex Maxis just double KO each other. And then the rest of us in the crowd are just like fucking laughing because like, well, they're both going to succeed.
Yep. Or will
the numbers are not going to come out exactly the same. However, we're either all going to fail together or win together. You just got to pick which one you want and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So with that to start us off, we're gonna go over a few very interesting pieces of news today, folks. In particular, this was so strange to me, but shout out to one of our Telegram members, Battle Hardened Sniper. This guy is always on top of the ball when it comes to sharing really good alpha with the chat. And the MetaMask article, he's actually the one that brought that to our attention. And, I was looking through YouTube for information about, because this is a pretty big deal, right? It's pretty big news. But when I went through YouTube, there was barely anybody talking about it, bro. Like this was news from like January 10th. January 30th is when the news broke out and nobody was really talking about it. And I didn't hear about it until like last week, bro. So I was like, why is nobody talking about this stuff? It's like such a big deal when it comes to having another outlet for us to offboard crypto. So we're going to be talking about that piece of news article. We're going to be going over some clips, breaking down the Miss Janet Yellen's appearance in front of Congress last week, right? Because she appeared in front of the House Financial Services Committee to push forward for more crypto regulations. So we're going to go over a few of those things. We're going to go over stuff about the Chinese New Year because, like Antoine mentioned in the chat, prices are pumping and that has a lot to do with, I think, today is like the Chinese New Year, right? Year of the Wood Dragon. So we're going to go over a little bit of that, but there's actually a few more things that I wanted to show you guys. Look, I want to place into context why crypto is becoming such a big deal. It's making its way back into the legacy news media roundups, right, during the week. Here's something really cool that I found when I was tuning into Altcoin Daily. Let me go ahead and share that screen again. Where is that? Here we go. Let me know if you guys can see this right here. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you guys will be familiar with Altcoin Daily, right? But take a look at this, right? So this is a tweet from Altcoin Daily showing the charts for the top 25 ETFs ever in history after the first month on the market, right? This is an accumulation of over 5,500 different ETFs within its first days.
Oh man, they were 20 ETFs shy,
bro. But
good old Quattro Cinco.
Can you imagine?
Right?
That'd be hilarious.
The foreshadowing. But look at this. Look at this. IBIT, which is BlackRock, and FBTC, which is Fidelity, right? In the top, the number 1 and the number 2 spot. Right?
How strange.
How strange, right? I thought the ETFs failed, guys. Didn't you hear that? I thought the ETFs failed. Right? But you see.
Man.
Right? But it seems to me that they're doing pretty okay by these metrics, right? And it's not just BlackRock and Fidelity here, right? At the very bottom here, we have ARK B, which is Kathy Wood's ARK Invest, and then BitB. This is by Bitwise, right? So within the first month, you have 4 out of the, I believe, 10. Is it 9? It's like one of those, 9 or 10 ETFs within the top 25 of all time. ETFs when it came to assets under management within the first month, right? BlackRock and Fidelity over here overtaking literally blowing. This is what a blowout looks like, guys. This is what a blowout looks like. Okay. And so when we're talking about the reasons why we're bullish for crypto, especially for this cycle, because of the sheer volume of the entering this market, because now they are probably going to consider it something safe because their financial advisors are going to be talking about it, right? Consider this, right? The average amount that I'm seeing, the average number that I'm seeing floating around in the internet right now is that traditional financial advisors, if they are going to recommend getting into Bitcoin through the ETF, they're going to recommend anywhere between like 2 to 3%, right? And so you have to consider the fact that these the ETFs are like multi-trillion-dollar industries, like deca-trillion-dollar industries, right? So if you can imagine just 2 to 3% of that capital going into the crypto market, that's like billions. I wish I had the Trump here. Like billions and billions and billions of dollars. Okay. So yeah, what do you guys think about that, man? What do you think about the just sheer success that these ETFs have experienced just within the first month since inception, man? Did this surprise you? Is it not surprising? Like, give me some of your insights here, fellas.
I don't think this is very surprising, considering that this has been the main news topic of effectively the last year. Mrs. Producer, I do have an article that I want to show, if you don't mind pulling it up at some point. But keep in mind, the graphic that you just showed only showed the BlackRock and the Fidelity ones. They're not even including Grayscale. This is just another, the article that you just showed is actually another feather in the cap of this theory I'm trying to put together, which is that there's a lot going on under the surface here. Specifically, if you want to talk about how Grayscale, even after it had $5 billion of Bitcoin sold off in the first month, it still has over $20 billion assets under management. Compare that to BlackRock and Fidelity, which each only have about $3 billion asset under management. And it's just another kind of data point showing that this is very intangible, but it feels like the journalists and a lot of the traditional finance is really trying to catch up to BlackRock is really trying to catch up to Grayscale on this. And it feels like everybody wants BlackRock to be the biggest and the number one, and they want Grayscale to kind of get knocked down a peg. So when you look at that other article where they don't even show Grayscale because they blow those two out of the water, it kind of defeats the narrative, which is like, oh, look, Fidelity and BlackRock are leading the market. It's like, no, they're actually not. Grayscale has been here and was here first. And now everyone else is playing catch up to them, whether they like it or not. And based on all the things I've seen, they don't really like it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And on top of that, right, there's a few things that I also want to share again. There's a few more tweets that I actually want to highlight for you guys, because this is just, it kind of elucidates the point that we've been trying to make over the past few weeks here about this one in particular that I'm about to share with you guys right now. When the inevitable dip that we were expecting did happen, right? A lot of people were panicking and selling stuff off, and we were pretty adamant about staying the course and telling people, hey, look, if you're going to swing trade, don't sell the entire bag, because this is exactly the type of environment that these large asset managers are trying to create, right? They want to FUD you out of your bags so that you sell into theirs. Okay, remember, over the last few weeks, we've been covering exactly how fast BlackRock has been accumulating BTC since the dip, right? Since we went down to that, I think it was around 38,500, I think was the lowest that we got. I have to double check on that, but take a look at this, right? This is from Watcher Guru, BlackRock and Fidelity now hold a total of 159, let's just call it 152,000 flat Bitcoin worth over $6.6 billion. Okay, guys, here's something that I want to bring to your attention, right? This is, I'm going to share this screen right here from Into the Block, right? And this tweet here, it says, Ever wondered how many Bitcoin have been lost forever? Our data shows that about 29% of Bitcoin hasn't moved in over 5 years. It's possible that a large part of this concerns lost Bitcoin. So if we were to consider that 29% of the entire supply of Bitcoin has been lost in the ether forever, right? That equates to about, let's see here, that's about 6. What's the number that I have here? That's about 6 million Bitcoin, right? So out of the 21 million that's supposed to be in existence, that's 6 million Bitcoin completely lost into the ether, right?
We
So
know exactly
100
where they are. No one can touch them though.
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly. I mean, they're there in the blockchain, right? You could see them, but nobody's
That's,
getting
My
access.
favorite part is like you can look at it, but never it's essentially burned. It's burned
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Bro,
Will,
imagine.
look at all those boating accidents.
Oh my goodness. All those boats. Oh, those poor
All the
ATF
boats.
agents having to
Oh
get on
my
their
God.
scuba gear.
Bottom of the ocean is littered with Bitcoin and guns.
Hey,
Yep.
hey, for the weebs watching, right? Imagine this, right? Imagine you found the One Piece, but you couldn't open the chest because the chest was indestructible. And that was Gold D. Rogers' joke for everybody. You can find the One Piece, but you'll never be able to open the chest. That's what basically happened to this Bitcoin, right? Everybody knows where the 6 million Bitcoin are, right? They're in the blockchain. You can see them. Well, nobody's ever going to be able to access them, right? And so when you consider that 6 million have been lost forever, right? Let's just make that assumption. That means that combined, BlackRock and Fidelity hold over 1% of the total supply. That means that
whales.
Michael Saylor, go ahead, Will.
They're whales. That was all.
Yeah. That means Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy also hold about 1% of the supply because I think combined they're close to 200,000 Bitcoin. And I think last week they announced actually that they just bought another 850 Bitcoin. So these guys aren't stopping, right? So that just kind of drives home the point that we've been trying to make over like the past month when the dip started happening and people were losing their shit. We're like, guys, this is what they want to happen. They're trying to FUD you out of their bags because they want to accumulate as much market share of the total supply that's left as possible, because that's going to give them the ability to manipulate the market like we're thinking that they're going to inevitably going to try to do, right? And so here's just another reminder, right? Soft reminder that these people are not selling, right? BlackRock is not selling. Fidelity is not selling. Grayscale wants to make you think that they're selling. But these people have been accumulating in the background for a very long time, and they're not going to give their Bitcoin up. And we highly suggest that you don't fall into the trap, right? Don't fall for that trap card. Because you don't want to be in the position of seeing Bitcoin valued at $1 million per token, and then remembering that time that you panic sold because the prices were dipping from 49,000 to 38,500, and you couldn't just take it. You had to sell, and then now you watch everybody take profits that are around $1 million per Bitcoin. So don't be one of those statistics. Don't be the pizza guy. And don't sell into these people's bags, man, because that's exactly what they're trying to do to you. So, but on a lighter note, go ahead, Z.
I was gonna say the reason I brought up the note that I did earlier with it seems like there are other forces at work here trying to tell you certain things, but in reality, other things or even the opposite is happening behind the scenes, is that this is a large, massive ecosystem. We got to understand who we are as retail investors inside of this large pond. We might think we're big shots. We are still just the krill or the plankton. We are the ability and the influence that we have is very small versus when you start looking at these people who actually start containing like whole percentages of market cap just under their own management. That's where you start getting those whale forces in effect, and you can see those people actually making moves. I ran a quick calculation. Just the difference between, I mean, this is basic math, but the difference between $40,000 Bitcoin and $45,000 Bitcoin, which is effectively that drop we saw between ETF launch and ETF bottom, that's about 11%. Imagine if you could get 11% more Bitcoin, because once we actually do like a 3 to a 5x, that's going to grow exponentially. And we're no longer just talking about thousands, we're talking about millions and billions of dollars, potentially even hitting trillions.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that's another example of why you should really be taking a step back every single time something like this happens, right? Because we might encourage the whole stoicism. Take your emotions out of the equation whenever you see these things happening on the chart and you see the FUD on the market, right? But it's not always easy to do that, right? In us telling you to do that might seem simple, right? But the application is a little bit more difficult when it actually comes time to apply the skill, right? Because when you see something like that happen in the chart, you see Bitcoin lose 20%, more than 20% actually of its market value over like a span of a week, right? You're going to get some kind of emotional response, right? But the only thing that we're saying here is, look, recognize the emotional response, right? Recognize the potential consequences if you acted on that emotional response, right? Take a step back and take a breath, right? Because we know exactly, like Zenith said, we know exactly the potential for this market in the future, right? And it's like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, right? And so that's all we're trying to say. Don't fall into the trap of trading with emotion, because that's how you're going to get wrecked in this market, right? Don't listen to Jim Cramer. Oh, Jesus. Speaking of Jim Cramer, he's going around, him and Solana, right? Him and Solana are going around the meme circle again, because obviously Solana had its outage last week, right? I think it's either the fourth or the fifth time that the network has gone down. I think this was about 5 hours. So they're making the meme circuit again, right? But Jim Cramer, this man, he does not miss. So I forgot to pull up the tweet, but he tweeted, this was on January 22nd, right? He said something along the lines of Bitcoin unlikely to find its footing, right? And then I'm going to share with you guys, might as well go into a little bit of the technical analysis here. I'm going to transition into my TA here by making an example of Jim Cramer. Let me know if you guys can see my Bitcoin chart here. Give me 1 second. Bitcoin. Here we go. All right, let me know if you guys see that.
Good to go.
All right, I'm going to shift over here really quickly on the daily chart. So like I mentioned, right, he tweeted that on the 22nd of January. That was literally the day, guys. It was the day before we hit our cycle low last cycle. The day before. Yes. It was the day before we hit our cycle low. This guy does not miss. But look what happened right after he tweets that, right? We get our cycle low at the very bottom of the range, mind you, that has been sitting here for like the past few months. So kudos to us. Bitcoin is bought up by the bulls, right? The bears get slapped down. Bitcoin gets bought up. And literally over the entire month of February, we've just been up and to the right. So kudos to Jim Cramer for once again solidifying his meme status as the reverse Cramer. Because when Jim Cramer says something about Bitcoin, it will probably behoove you to act in the complete opposite direction, right? Or to have a frame of mind that's completely opposite to what he's doing. Because, I mean, guys, like, what's the coincidence? The coincidence every single time the man says something about Bitcoin.
I've got a theory, Jay.
Go ahead and give us your theory real quick, Will.
Jim Cramer is Satoshi.
Oh my God.
That's what it is, bro. He doesn't fucking miss, bro. It's Satoshi looking after us, my friend.
Oh, Jesus. But cursed. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cursed Satoshi.
The guy doesn't
good
miss.
Old Jimothy Cramer.
Uncanny. You know, I think he's technically aware of his meme status. I wonder if he probably should bet against his own calls.
Bro, he's benevolent, man. I'm telling you, he's Satoshi. He's wrecking all the people who listens to his trash ass advice, and he's helping all the true believers, because we all know, that's all I gotta say is Jimothy Cramer is Satoshi Nakamoto.
But with that being said, folks, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of TA here for you guys. So like usual, I want to give you folks a macro view first, right? Because we've been talking about how the dips are causing people to panic over the month of January. But take a look at this absolutely beautiful monthly chart that we have here for Bitcoin. From my counts, we have 11 months of green and 3 months of red since this bull market started. And here's January when people were panicking. That's a green month. And look at where we are at in February currently, right? I mean, this is an engulfing, beautiful engulfing green candle, just completely taking over the price action from January, and we're not even halfway through the dang month yet. Okay, so here is just, I want to give you folks context. I want to give you the view from like 20,000 feet up in the air, right? This is the monthly view here. That despite the dips that we're experiencing in the market, we are on track. The bull market is still raring, and it's still going in full force, right? And this monthly chart is a perfect representation of exactly where we're at in the cycle, right? We are in that very bullish wave 3. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive months of green. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of perspective there before we go down into the smaller, more degenerate time frames here, because I know that sometimes people get caught in the weeds of looking at the daily red candles and start to panic. So just a bit of perspective there for you folks, just to give you some peace of mind. All right. So now we're back here in the daily chart. We are on day 20 of the current 60-day cycle, a new cycle high on today's daily candle. I'm going to go over both the bullish and the bearish scenarios for Bitcoin that we can see probably over the next week, right? Sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a confirmation of whether it's going to be a left or a right translated cycle by sometime next week. Just a gut feeling, right? So like I said, day 20 of the cycle, we're going to go over the bearish scenario first because we have to give the bears their due. Like I mentioned earlier during this week when I did the little emergency stream, I was my thesis was that we are in a zigzag pattern. However, this move to the upside basically invalidates that pattern. Why? Because a zigzag corrective pattern, right? If this was an A and we're looking for a B wave to come and finish, zigzag, the B wave for zigzags usually is a lot shallower here. And if you notice, this is not a shallow impulse to the upside, right? This is a very bullish move to the upside. And so what I am now thinking and considering is if we are still in a corrective pattern, that this is going to be one of 3 flat patterns, right? So here's the current targets for the flat patterns, right? If we have a regular flat pattern, and a regular flat just looks something like this, folks, okay? Here's your regular flat pattern. Here's your A wave. There's your B wave. There's your C wave, right? This is a classic regular flat pattern where the B wave does not go beyond the start of your A wave, and the C wave does not go beyond the end of your A wave, right? And if we take a fib-based trend extension here, what you're going to see is that your C wave is a 1-for-1 extension of this entire move, right? This is what characterizes your flat patterns, right? That A to C wave is a 1-to-1 extension of that entire move. If you were to take your price tool, you could see that the magnitude of increase or decrease is the same, right? That's why we say 1-to-1, 21% here, 21% there. And so if this is a flat corrective pattern, what we're going to expect is for Bitcoin to get rejected at exactly the area that it is finding some resistance now, right? Because our last cycle high was over here. This was at $49,000 and $49,048. And so if this was a regular flat corrective pattern, this is where you expect Bitcoin to start getting rejected before we then head into a 5-wave impulse to the downside, right? Because that's a sub-wave count for a flat. It's a 3, 3, and you're looking for 5. So if you're doing Elliott wave analysis, and you want confirmation, your flat pattern, it's going to be a 5-wave impulse to the downside. Now, what if it's one of the other 2 flat patterns, right? What if it's an irregular or an expanding flat? Well, that's not going to change much in terms of our price targets, right? For your irregular flat pattern, the difference is that your B wave comes slightly above where your A wave started, right? And so if this, just a shot in the dark here, folks, if this was going to be an irregular flat pattern, right, I would expect Bitcoin to start getting some rejection around the $50,000 area, right? One being that $50,000 is a whole number. And so that's going to offer you some kind of psychological resistance as well, right? And if we take a trend-based fib extension here of this move, right, from top, pull it down here, right? Your 1618 area, which is a common extension for this move, is around $50,000. So you have some confluence there, right? You have some horizontal fibs, and then you also have $50,000 serving as that psychological resistance for a lot of people, right? So if this was an expanded flat and we do get an extension of this B wave slightly higher than where our last cycle high was, then $50,000 is probably an area where you're going to start selling some sell-off, some resistance, and then your C wave, same thing as a regular, it's going to be a 1-for-1 extension of that entire move. So if we get rejected around $50,000, then your C wave target is around here at $40,000, right? And then finally, the more common flat pattern, which I actually haven't seen a lot of during at least when I'm doing my macro analysis, is your expanding flat, right? And the only difference is that your C wave is going to come and extend below where your A wave terminated, right? That's why it's called expanding, right? If you take some trend lines here, you could see that these trend lines are sloping, right? When you connect the tops of these legs together, right? You have sloping trend lines and they're expanding, which is why they're called expanding flats. In that case, then I would expect the lowest, right? If we're to take a 1-for-1 extension here, expanded flats, I would expect, let's see here, a common extension here is that 1382. So for the bears, if you're looking for a target, right, and you really think that we're going to break below Bitcoin's 20-week moving average, then that 1382 extension at $35,600 Bitcoin, that's your lower target, right? I personally, and Zenith might have a different opinion here, but I personally don't believe that we are going to go below too far below $38,000 Bitcoin. And the reason being is, well, why do I think that? Once again, here we are going to be on the weekly chart. Let me go ahead and turn on the Bollinger Bands for you folks. And that if you notice, where is our 20-week moving average? Our 20-week moving average is sitting nicely at $39,281, right? What have I said about Bitcoin's 20-week moving average? Once we have entered into this very bullish wave 3, Bitcoin does not have a tendency to close below its 20-week moving average. It might wick below there, but it does not spend any time. It does not close any weeks below there until the wave 4, or in some cases, until the very next bear market. So that is why I am being very steadfast in my opinion that we are not going to see any weekly closes below this 20-week moving average for Bitcoin, which is currently at $39,000. So that's your bearish scenario. Bullish scenario. Here's where the fun starts. Here is where the fun starts. This looks like the start of a 5-wave sequence to the upside. Does it not, gentlemen? Because it sure as hell looks like to me, right? If we take a fib retracement here, you can see that we have hit the 0.382 fib on the retracement from our low to our swing high here. So that minimum target, I'm comfortable with saying, okay, that's a good enough retracement for our wave 2. And we are now in this wave 3, right? This is for the bullish scenario, right? We have a 1, 2, 3 yet to finish, 4 yet to come in, 5 yet to come in, right? And so if we took a trend-based fib extension from the start of that move to the bottom, oh, looky, right? Your common extensions for a wave 3 is the 1618, which is right there at $50,000. We already spoke about that. The 2618 at $55,000. And finally, if this wave 3 is super duper pooper scooper mega bullish, $65,000 Bitcoin. You like that, Will?
Thank you for that.
Just trying to put some
Trying to catch me sleeping. No, I'm awake. Oh, thank you, Antoine, for the super chat. Knowledge and wisdom on the current Richard Hart charts.
Oh, I mean, he super chatted, so
he's making a request for TA on the RH charts. All right, well, I'll let you go ahead and continue your thing. But
yeah, for sure. Antoine, let us know which token in particular you want to go over, and me and Z will double team. Okay. But yeah, going back into this, right? The 4236 is a common area for wave 3 to hit. So is it possible that we're going to see $65,000 Bitcoin within the next few months or so, maybe even before the halving, it's certainly a possibility, right? But those are your targets when it comes to this like wave 3, if the correction is indeed over, right? And we've hit the minimum requirements for a corrective for corrections in terms of price. This could very well be the very start of our next impulse, folks. Okay. I was talking with a client the other day, and we were talking about potential strategies if Bitcoin were either to keep going bullish or bearish. We're gonna I'm giving you probabilities and scenarios here. Before we make any big decisions, I need some ranges to form here first before I could be confident in telling you guys, okay, where do I think the market is really going, right? Like, am I leaning towards more of the bearish side or the bullish side? Like, I need some ranges to form here before I can give you guys a much more solid opinion on where I sit in terms of, are we going to be more bullish or going to be more bearish, right? And so I think that's going to come. That data is going to come sometime in the next week. But those are your targets for both your bearish and bullish cases, right? For bullish cases, I think I mentioned this to Dre in the chat. If we are in the next leg of this wave, this macro wave 3, Bitcoin will punch through $50,000 and it's just gonna keep going, man. Like, you're not gonna have any significant amount of resistance here if we are in that next leg up, right? It's just gonna punch right through there like the Kool-Aid man through a wall. Okay, so that is it for the TA. Z, Will, did you guys have anything to add? Questions, comments, concerns?
Bro, I don't know anything about TA.
I mean, doesn't mean you don't have any questions, comments, or concerns.
I like the squigglies. These are good tea leaves.
We are on
I am
we are on day 20 of our current 60-day cycle for Bitcoin.
Yes.
If we just do a standard 60-day cycle assumption, that puts us out to the 23rd of March. Notably, I think the estimates for the Bitcoin halving right now are the 22nd of April, which is 30 days into the next cycle. So theoretically, we're approaching one cycle's worth of days away from the halving. And right now, like I said, we're a third of the way through a possible cycle now. And then that next cycle, the halving is going to happen right at that halfway point. So personally, what I see is that I think it's very possible that on the actual date of the halving, you see a new, I guess, not all-time high, but high for this current bull market.
Yes.
That's what I'm seeing.
Gotcha. And hey, right? It's like the events that we have coming around the corner could potentially lead us to there, right? You could get something as high as $65,000 Bitcoin. I know some people are predicting that, historically speaking, we've always had a dip going into the halving, which could also possibly happen. But right, history is something that we can take some insight from, but it's not always going to necessarily repeat, right? Because it's a different environment, different context, different players in this current market, right? So we can't always rely on history to tell us what's going to happen now, because it's a new chapter, right? So use it as insight, but don't use that to dictate how you trade, right? Because something completely different might totally happen, right? But good points on that, Zenith.
For sure. Keep in mind, this is only the fourth halving that's ever happened. The first one happened super early on in Bitcoin history. The second one around 2016 is probably the most reliable data one that we have, because the one immediately after that also happens directly after we have the Black Swan event that is COVID. So
yep, exactly. So it's it's not like there isn't a possibility of more blacks. I mean, Josh went over the potential macro headwinds that exist for crypto right now, right? And a few of them is obviously the skirmishes between some of these different countries, right? This what's happening over there with Palestine and I'm looking for the other one. Israel, yes. Between Israel and Palestine, right? And then obviously you still have the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I was about to blank.
The Bloods and the Crips, don't forget them either.
Yeah, and the Bloods and the Crips, right?
And those guys.
Tupac and Biggie. So yeah, we're not exactly short of potential macro headwinds that could just smack us right back down, right? So it's just like keep the eyes peeled and the ears open, right? So yeah, but thank you for that, Zenith. Okay,
real
so
quick,
Antoine,
one last little data point for you. If we want to look at the 2016 halving, the dip that happened right around that halving was about 30%. The one in 2020, if you want to look at it, excluding the COVID dip, it was about 55%. And then including the COVID dip, it was an additional 57%. And if we want to drag that wick all the way up to the top, it was about 75. So scary numbers, yes. However, at the same time, I personally believe that the farther along we get in the Bitcoin life cycle, the more things are going to start to level off, including gains and drops.
And also consider the context, the time frame in which those drops occurred, right? The reason why the COVID dip was so devastating was because it was during the wave 2 correction of the cycle, the big macro cycle. And what do we know about wave 2s? They tend to be the steepest because the overall trend has not yet been established. So you were at the very beginning of your bull market. What was freshest in people's minds? The bear market. Upwards trend has not yet been established. So when you get volatile price movement to the downside like that, you have a tendency for a larger amount of market participants to dump their tokens because they think it's gonna go and hit a new low, right? So context of the time that these dips occur in is also very important, right? Which is why we go over the charts with you here in addition to the news, right? Because we want to give you guys a holistic picture, right? Not just the numbers, not just the probabilities, not just the lines on the chart or the tea leaves, as Will would say, and not just the news that's going around legacy like the legacy media outlets, right? So big perspective here is what we're trying to provide you here at the Roundtable.
On the subject of people dumping their coins, we got Antoine over here dumping his dirty fiat coins for some opinions from us. So he wants us to do, I'm presuming he wants us to do TA on the Richard Hart coins and then potential future price predictions. Now, just so you know, Antoine, nothing that we say is financial advice. We don't know the future. We're throwing spaghetti at the wall. And so I'm going to go ahead and start right here because I have zero TA and zero reason for any of my thought processes. I think that EHEX is going to be 420, so 42 cents. I think the PHEX is going to be 69 cents. I think that what was the other one? Pulse. I think that Pulse is going to be 69.420, so just below 1 penny, so 0.69420% of a penny. And those are my price predictions.
How about you, Z? Combined price, individual price. What do you got? Will, was that for your short-term predictions or long-term?
That's infinite term predictions. So it could happen at any point in time. We don't know when, but it's going to happen. Or maybe it's not. Who knows?
Shoot, I think this market, in the past I've talked about, I think 1 cent to 3 cent pulse is a reasonable target, I'd argue, especially the 1 cent one. And then as far as combined EHEX, BHEX price, it's probably like $3.50 combined. This is top of 2025 bull market, excuse me. So again, I think maybe like $2.50 for combined price is reasonable as well. Because if you talk about that, that's a 5x compared to the last cycle. It sounds about right. But also at the same time, from current prices, that is... Sorry, it's massive. I'll say that much. Pulling up some math. Price range.
And this is all entirely
$3. We'll do $2.50 because that will about equal out to what I think it is. From the bear market bottom to $2.50 on Pulse Chain, that is a 462x for PHEX. Excuse me.
Jesus.
But hey, I actually agree with you there, Zenith. I think for me, this is coming from a conservative investor, right? And I have my reasons. I think $2.50 combined price, I think is the minimum for both PX and EHEX. I think there is still a pretty good shot at $5.55 combined price for both of them, right? And the reason why I say that, and once again, this is coming from a conservative investor, the reason for that being, you have to consider the amount of gatekeeping that has existed within the space, right? Richard Hart, despite the vitriol within the market that existed against that man, look at how well his tokens did still, right? No major centralized exchange listing, okay, listed inappropriately on CoinMarketCap, right? You had to go to like page 3, like above number 300. So inappropriately listed by market cap, right? And so despite the, like, everybody in the middle of the bell curve, despite not a lot of those people knowing about Richard Hart and his project, about Hex, it still did that well, right? And then to top that off, the SEC lawsuit against him, right? I mean, you talk about anything and everything they could have possibly thrown at this man to destroy him and his work. It didn't fucking work. Imagine,
trash.
bro, imagine what's going to happen when he walks out of that damn courtroom. He is vindicated in the eyes of the law. All the naysayers have nothing left to say. They have no more bullets left in their fucking chambers. And he's going to make the... You think he's not going to go back on a press tour and say, and finger wag, I told you so? You think a little bit of the arrogant Richard is not going to come out and shove it to these people, right? You think that they're not going to finally list them properly on CoinMarketCap, on CoinGecko? You think that his products are not going to make major centralized exchange listings? Of course those things are going to happen, right? And so what you've inevitably done is now you've placed him and his projects in a position, right, to accumulate a large degree of that market share of like the exodus of people that's going to be entering the market because of the success of the ETFs. Not to mention if we get an Ethereum ETF,
True.
right?
It's still something that's possibly in the works,
right? And so, yeah, I think $2.50 combined price is a minimum target, right? If things go as well as we're going to think they're going to go for Richard Hart and his ecosystem, I think that's minimum. I think that's conservative. I mean, some people would say $5.55 is still conservative. Just look at Axis. Like Axis, shout out to Axis. He's got some pretty bullish predictions. You see, you guys are so bearish. What's up, our good buddy Alan, man? Glad you can make it on the stream today, my friend. But look at Axis, bro. This guy's predictions are not in the single dollar digit like he's in the double digits, right? Like $50, I believe, was the one of the predictions that I caught on one of his streams, right? So yeah, there's our moon maths for you. But since Antoine was so generous with his super chat, I'm gonna go over, and he said he wanted to go over PHEX. Well, I do have the PHEX charts here.
Yeah.
Said Pulse, EHEX, and PHEX.
Pulse, EHEX.
Yeah.
Okay, Antoine, I have the hex chart here for you, bro. I'll try to go over it as quick as possible because there are a few other things that we want to go over on today's stream. So let me go ahead and share my
the audience
screen right now.
Paying us. This is excellent. Oh man, what a cool audience we have over here at the DGen Roundtable.
Can you guys see that
Big
right
shout
here?
out to all you guys. Oh, we are starting to see. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so
wow, look at those waves. I'd surf that.
Right. So if you guys notice here that PHEX is actually consolidating around the range that it has building for a considerable amount of time, right? So if you notice here, right, we have a range building here, range building here, range building here. And so you can bet that if we were to get lower prices on PHEX, you're probably going to find a pretty significant amount of support around here in the 1.4 cent region, right? But so that's it. Like, that's really it for like the bearish scenario that I see for PHEX, because we have a ton of support around this price range that I don't really see it going like any lower than 1.4 cents. Unless something really terrible were to happen, right? Some bad news about Richard or some bad news about the case were to come to light. So there's always that possibility, but I just don't see it happening, right? But obviously, I have to give you guys the probabilities, right? Can't speak in absolutes, but as far as the lower band here, I'm expecting 1.4 cents is probably the lowest that I see PHEX going if we do head to lower price levels. But it might not be as clear cut as some other charts, right? As far as the Elliott waves is concerned, but because PHEX and EHEX are so like tightly bound together, right? It hasn't really given the PHEX chart an opportunity to form what I would consider a reasonable Elliott wave scenario, right? So I can't really make any heads of tails here. There's not, like, for me, this entirety here of the PHEX history is still a corrective structure, right? However, I can give you some price predictions for the short term just based on horizontal support and resistance, right? And so if Pulse Chain, which is entering its wave 5, that's going to be a much more exciting chart to look at, then I expect PHEX to punch past this cycle high over here at about 2.6 cents, right? And start making a run towards 4.3 cents here, right? Which is its all-time high back when Pulse Chain still released, right? So look for PHEX first to reclaim this last cycle high over here at 2.1 cents, and then look for it to start getting some resistance at around 2.6. But if we can punch through 2.6 cents, you notice here that there's not a lot of price history to speak of beyond that. Okay, so if PHEX can punch through 2.6 cents, start building momentum around that price level, then there's not much resistance left here, guys. There's not a lot. So it's not unreasonable to say that if we start building strong momentum around 2.6, that this all-time high at 4.2 cents is not too far off, right? Not a lot of resistance around here, fellas. Not a lot. Okay, so that's for PHEX. Look for it to punch through 2.6, and then at the high end here, start retesting its all-time high at around 4.2 cents before starting to get some rejection. Z, did you have any comments on PHEX, or should I move on to Pulse?
I guess just a quick disclaimer for folks is that the point of using Elliott wave theory as a projection tool or an analysis tool is that it works well in trending markets. What I mean by that is that it follows trend. It does not dictate its own pattern, so to speak. You have to kind of have some foreknowledge about what's going on in the market. If you have a atypical or a non-standard market, Elliott wave theory might not be the tool that's best suited for the case that you're trying to look at. In our cases, we do think that a lot of the markets, I would argue the majority of the markets do follow trends. And what I mean by that is mostly like macro, like bullish and bearish trends. So one of the interesting things that I was looking at is that on the Hex chart, especially this bottom part, it looks a little bit odd, but that's partly because we did have the massive interruption by the SEC case, and there appears to be a lot, and I mean a lot of resistance at about like 0.012 or like 1.2 cents.
Yes, sir.
So
indeed.
Again, what Jay was alluding to earlier is that because EHEX and PHEX are so tied together just through the nature of one being a literal fork of the other, and all the liquidity pairing, the bonding, you're going to see the PHEX chart take up a lot of the characteristics of the EHEX chart, in my personal opinion. I think that because of the history of the EHEX chart, you can kind of superimpose that over the PHEX chart and try to figure things out. So, for example, I'm looking at the EHEX chart right now. We're sitting at about 0.01012.
Z, you want to share your screen, bro?
Sure, I can do that. Sorry, that's probably better than trying to describe numbers to people, huh? All right, put her up there.
Thank you, Mrs. Producer, for being so quick on the clicks. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Producer, for sure. So what I'm talking about here is, if you look at this point here, basically, we launched in, what was it, May of 2023?
13th.
May 13th. Yep. So this is effectively where your PHEX chart begins. Again, keep in mind this is the Ethereum side. So PHEX only has the right side of this chart, but it's going to act like it also has the left side of this chart, in my personal opinion. So just for a quick reference, we have all this activity about the bottom after we had the SEC case come out. We then had the parity event happen when the whales were pumping the EHEX side. And then we've had some pretty similar price action where it's kind of reverted back to the mean, so to speak. Now we're sitting at about 1 cent. And then, in my opinion, I see resistance here at 1.26 cents. And then also at about 1.7 cents. Yeah. So what that means is that you can...
Just really quick, Zenith.
Go for it.
there isn't a coincidence. It's not a coincidence why both the EHEX and PHEX chart are ranging like this, right? You could see they're like, if you superimpose, like Zenith said, both charts on top of each other, they're like, it's an arranging market. Like Zenith said, that's why it's difficult to make heads or tails with Elliott Wave right now, because it works better on trending markets. EHEX and PHEX right now are in ranging markets. So it's not a coincidence why EHEX keeps getting rejected at around 1.2 cents. You could see the top of those candles, right? Very obvious horizontal resistance there. And then the other area that Zenith pointed out at 1.7 cents, the reason why he pointed that out specifically is because that was our prior bear market low, right? Back in 2022. So there's your next major area of resistance if PHEX finally breaks above this 1.2 cents. But go ahead, Zenith.
For sure. I was just going to make a point here and try to impose this chart onto the BHEX chart. So notably, first level of resistance I'm going to look at here is at about 1.7 cents. And then the next level of resistance is going to be this one up here at about 2.66 cents. So remember that we're about 70% above current price and 160% above current price. So let's try to do some math real quick and see if it works out. So current price is about 0.18. We'll multiply that by 1.7. That means on the PHEX side of the house, it's possible to see some resistance at 3 cents. What do we see? We see a market top here. This also lines up pretty closely with the EHEX house. So notably, this is also where we lose data. Everything above this point is effectively new territory, excluding the top of this little wick here. I personally think that just the cluster of the candles here shows that this is more of an outlier than the rule, and that the true top could be about here, matching up with the math that we just did. So this correlates to that 1.7 cents on EHEX. And now if we go, it was 166. So we'll go 1.66 times 0.018. Might be screwing up my math. 1.66 times 0.018 would mean 0.2988. That's about where we have there. I might have messed up the first one. So 0.018 times 1. Sorry, I am screwing up my math. This one's 2.66 times 0.018. All right, so that means that once we blow past this, according to my calculations, the next resistance we're going to run into is right up here at about 4.78 cents. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Nope.
Yeah, especially when you consider, so Zenith made a really good point there, right? He said that because that wick is an outlier, and it is an outlier because when did that wick happen? During the first few weeks of Pulse Chain, right? And so he is correct that 1.7 area, which is in confluence with where we lost the bear market support when the price collapsed, it would make sense that would probably serve as another major point of resistance when it came to PHEX prices moving up, right? Because like Zenith said, that wick is an outlier, and you can consider it as part of your analysis, but just you have to think within the context of when that happened, right? And it happened during the major volatility within the first few weeks of Pulse Chain's release, when everybody was trying to make moves and everybody's trying to create positions. So very good analysis.
The point of what I did there was I was just trying to help draw some additional support and resistance lines based on previous data that doesn't quite show up on this chart. And it's just using a basic ratio of EHEX to PHEX to figure out where those support and resistances might line up.
Was that a TI-84 calculator?
No, this is my TI-30.
Snap. Keeping it old school.
So I am actually TI-83 gang. I'm not 84.
That's
I am old school.
I forget you. That shit was popular, like shit, I don't want to age myself, but I was in high school, like in the 2010s area. And I remember those things were the tits back in the day, bro. There was one of them where you could play like Tetris on it and stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't a stream about Tetris and calculators and things. I just wanted to comment on Zenith's calculator real quick. Jay, what is this you got pulled up here?
So we have, since Antoine made the request, this this is the pulse chain chart, and the pulse chain chart looks a lot better, right? We talk about trending markets. Pulse chain is certainly within a trending market. So please ignore all of the chicken scratch here. As you can see, I had a lot more fun doing an analysis on pulse chain than any of the other tokens because it is such a bullish trending market. Elliott waves. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish the wave 1. Wave 2 here, we are now in the wave 3 of 1, right? And so what can we expect for pulse chain? Because this was pretty obvious to me, right? I was also looking for a corrective structure to the downside. If you notice here, we have this symmetrical triangle that formed during the consolidation that happened over the past few weeks for pulse chain, and it broke this triangle to the upside, right? Which is in line with what Bitcoin is doing. And so what does that tell me? If Bitcoin, like we were mentioned earlier, it is finished with its corrective structure, right? That means you are now giving not just pulse chain, but all of the RH tokens and other altcoins the ability to run to the upside. And that is perfect for pulse chain. Why? Because it's heading into its wave 5 here. So what can we expect for the wave 5? Well, here are some targets. If we do a trend-based fib extension from the very start of this move, from the very start of our wave 3, pull it to the finish of our wave 3. And like I said, hypothetically, if this was the end of our wave 4, right, and we are now going to, right, because this is a 1, 1, 2. Where is it? Where does it start? Here we go. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a 1, 2 heading into another wave 3 here. So if we were to consider where this move might terminate, a very common extension is this 0.786 area right here. So that's at around a 3 zeros and a 1 7. However, if Bitcoin were to make a run towards $60,000, then this 1618 area here over about 3 zeros and a 2 6 with it, like this is within the short term, is not unreasonable either for pulse chain, right? And if you do, so if you notice here, right, I was doing some ratios, some fib ratios. So we know that during a wave 5, the wave 5 tends to fall in between the percent gain of your wave 1 and your wave 3. So if our wave 1 was 140% move up and our wave 3 was a 245% move up, then our wave 5 potentially, at the minimum, we know that it's going to be at least 140%, which is around 3 zeros and a 22. Right? That's nice. But let's say it goes really parabolic, right? Let's go, it makes its way up to around 245%. That would mean pulse chain for this wave 5 can potentially go to 3 zeros and a 33. Not too bad. Not too bad. That would give it a new all-time high. Right? Because our prior all-time high here was 3 zeros and a 20. Is that a 28? 3 zeros and a 28. Yeah. Yeah. So if we get really bullish and we max out that percent gain of about 245%, 3 zeros and a 33 for pulse chain, definitely within the cards. Right. So there you go, Antoine. I hope that gave you some hopium for what's to come, because next week if pulse chain were to crack that last cycle high area of 3 zeros and a 1 5, bro, look out.
I want you guys to take a look at my first time trying TA. So here we have
this man.
As you guys can see, we have money compared over time, and I have drawn this very beautiful upwards trend because I've been looking at all these candles. So here we've got some green candles, right? And then as you can, hang on, I got to look at my lower screen down here. And then over here we've got some red candles, which indicates price go down. But fortunately, we're okay because there's more green candles followed by red and then more green. And then as you can watch over time, price goes up. And hang on, the best part is yet to come. And there you have it. That's my TA.
Will, I think you have some excellent analysis here because you really show how these. It is. This is some excellent TA because it shows how the price really moves around that trend line. And that trend line is a good base to make all your decisions off of because it really shows you where it's oversold and overbought and where's a good time to get in there.
Yeah, man.
Perfect. Look at that.
Yep.
Something to the right. What I like.
Absolutely. So there you go, guys. My first TA and my first time screen sharing. And Antoine is kind enough to give us a nice little super chat. Thank you, boys, for this. Thank you, boys. And this is for Will's first TA. Excellent.
Bro,
well, I appreciate it, Antoine. This is fantastic.
I think he's just flexing on us right now, bro.
Hey, that's okay. I'm fine with him flexing. I'm fine with him.
He said he was paying the boys back for all the stuff in Miami, so.
Okay, my man. Hey, I'm glad you guys had a good time. Hey, speaking of the chat here, we have a few people rolling in here. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Russ, glad that you could make it here. I know we said hi to Alan Sloth, my man. Good to have you, my friend. Hey, see, Sloth says he hasn't been watching the game either. SJ, I saw SJ pop in, my dear. Very good to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. And Antoine, yeah, man, thank you so much for the $19.99 super chat. That is fantastic. I think this man almost donated the total of $200 over the span of this entire stream. So, yeah, bro, thank you so much for that. With that being said,
stream brought to you by Antoine.
Yeah. With that being said, Will is open for consultations, guys. If you want some TA insight, hit him up.
Yes, believe it or not, I will be open for consultations. My price is 69,420 DRT. And yeah, that is set in stone. No discounts ever. That is going to be the price for now and for all of time, eternity. And I am so kind with my TA that I've given you guys the sauce directly in our Telegram chat. I have copied this fantastic chart and I have pasted it in the Telegram. Oh shit, I put it in the leadership one. Hang on. Let me put it in the community. I'll put it in the community Telegram.
Give the people what they want.
For the people. All right, and I'm posting it now because we do it live.
Sloth's like, I'll pay that.
We do it live.
So, my man Alan here with the jokes. Unfortunately, Alan, even if Will becomes a multi-trillionaire, I guarantee you he's just gonna buy more of his bad idea shirts. That is a shirt produced by Will himself, and he's not going to wear. There you go.
All right, that's a stack.
Oh my!
These are my new ones for when my ones that I wear right now get dirty and old and everything. Become unserviceable. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Alan. You're not gonna get a different shirt. Will be wearing that shirt into perpetuity as long as probably for as long as I'll know the man.
That's my plan.
Wow. Hey, so should we transition into the articles? Because I think
I guess we should cover some news, shouldn't we?
Let's pull up Janet.
Let's give the people what they want.
We've been having a lot of fun here. So I mean,
bro, it's been an hour and 30 minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah,
we gotta
we gotta do it.
Okay, so Mrs. Producer, I apologize for screen jumping here. There's like so much cool information that I wanted to share with the folks here. But yeah, here we are going to be transitioning into our very first article. Let me go and share that with you folks. This is Visa enabling crypto withdrawals on debit cards in 145 different countries. So MetaMask users can now sell crypto directly to a Visa card, which eliminates the need to use centralized exchanges. Article goes on to say that global payment giant Visa is doubling down on cryptocurrency adoption by enabling another method to exchange crypto to fiat currencies without using a centralized exchange. Now, here's where the partnerships come into play, right? It says here that Visa partnered with the Web3 infrastructure provider Transact. For those of you folks who are not familiar with Transact, like this article says, they are a Web3 infrastructure provider. I actually have their website pulled up right now. So if Miss Producer, I will go ahead and share the screen. here is the homepage for Transact, right? If you notice, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to their interface here. If you've used some of the onboarding features from MetaMask to buy and sell crypto, you probably came across something like this. That
Are you
is
screen
by
sharing right now,
Transact.
Jay?
Sorry?
We need you to screen share right now.
Oh, I switched over to the tab. I wonder why it didn't switch
Good.
over. That's so strange.
That's
Because there's a
okay.
button there. Yeah, there's a button there that says share this screen instead. So I just clicked that. I guess it didn't pop
That's
through.
why I'm here to keep you honest, broski.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. But
All
yeah,
right,
like
we're
I was
good.
saying, if you've used the onboarding processes that MetaMask has within their wallet, right? If you wanted to navigate around a central exchange, this is something you're probably familiar with this interface because that's exactly what that looks like. This is by Transact. If you notice down here, they have partnered with a ton of names that you guys and gals might be familiar with, right? MetaMask being one of them, Ledger, Trust Wallet, Bitcoin.com, Decentraland. Let's see, 1inch, right? There's a DEX aggregator for you guys, QuickSwap, and CakeSwap, right? So a lot of familiar names here that Transact has worked with, providing ways for people to go from fiat to crypto very easily, right? So basically what they're providing is a software for these applications to be able to allow their users to onboard crypto from fiat, right? Directly from their bank into crypto, right? And this is the company that Visa has partnered with, right? And the cool thing about this, right, is that the Transact, right, they're the ones that are going to be handling. Let me stop sharing my screen. They're the ones that are going to be handling all of the KYC requirements, right? And so they're going to be handling all of the risk assessment, right? They're going to be going into contact with the regulatory bodies within the countries that they're going to provide services to. So it's like you don't have to worry about any of that going on in the background because they're going to be handling that, right? And then Visa, through their Visa Direct service, right, it's going to allow third-party applications like Transact, like MetaMask, to connect to Visa's network and routes payments directly onto those Visa cards, right? And so that's what's going to happen. Visa is going to allow you to transition from things like Bitcoin on your Trust wallet or Ethereum on your MetaMask wallet, and you're going to be able to sell directly into fiat into that little debit card that Visa is going to provide, right? So obviously we have some benefits. You're going to be able to remove the necessity for centralized exchanges as an off-ramp, right? It's going to save you time and fees because I'm sure that you know when you're moving money around in this space, the fees can really start accumulating for you, especially during those times when the network is being used to a significant degree, right? I'm sure we've all seen over the past week gas go up to like $30, $50 per transaction. And so this is going to provide you another avenue to offboard crypto into fiat without having to go through that centralized entity. Obviously, I think there are going to be some limitations here, right? The same way that there are going to be limits to how much money you can transfer from your centralized exchange back into your bank, right? There are time limits, there are value limits, and I am fairly certain that Visa, even though they're a really big company, that they're going to impose these kinds of limits onto how much crypto you can withdraw into their Visa debit card at a time, right? So it's not going to be at least I personally don't think that it's going to be a one-stop shop when it comes to being able to offboard a large sum of money, but it's going to give you more options, right? And that's what we want in this industry is more options to be able to not just onboard, but to offboard our crypto, because we know that a lot of these different centralized exchanges have a ton of different limits. You have to jump through a whole bunch of different hoops in order to get your money on and off of them. So MetaMask, Visa partnering with MetaMask, partnering with Transact to be able to provide this to a whole bunch of different apps, to a whole bunch of different countries, I think personally is just, it's just going to be a boon, right? Will, Zenith, give me your thoughts on your article. Do you think this is a good thing, or do you think it's a good thing? It's something valuable that we could use in crypto, or is this just another one of those avenues where you don't want a large centralized entity like Visa like getting into this space, getting a handle on your information, right? Because I'm assuming that if they're going to be doing KYC, you're basically going to dox your wallet if you offboard fiat onto their cards, right? So give me your thoughts on these fellas, man. What do you think about it? Real quick, Russ, he says Transact has the keys. Transact does not have the keys. The money, the crypto is on your MetaMask. You offboard that crypto into fiat onto the debit card, right? Transact is just an infrastructure provider. Visa will not have the keys to your wallet either. They will give you a debit card that you can offboard your, let's say you have Ethereum in your MetaMask. You can offboard that Ethereum into the debit card, sell it directly into fiat, but they do not touch your keys. But you will dox your wallet, which is what I was saying. But go ahead. Z, Will, your thoughts on this?
I think it's great. I think that all sorts of tools are great. I think that excavators are great. I think the machine guns are great. I think the fire is great. I think that all sorts of dangerous things are great because you can use them correctly to do the things that you want to do, and you can also use them incorrectly and destroy a lot of things. So this is a fantastic tool, and I'm glad that there is just more use case and opportunity for people to go out there and like get out and get in. Like I don't necessarily know if I'll be doing it, but I like the fact that there's now more options available for everybody. So
Yeah.
like I don't see there being any sort of loss to this from the point of I don't celebrate anything like or I'm not upset about anything new being created. So it's excellent stuff.
Will's not wrong. This is just, in essence, adding more lanes to the highway or upgrading your country road to an interstate. It's a major player because, if I'm not mistaken, Visa is the largest payment processor in the world.
Yes,
so them
sir.
adding this functionality to over 100 countries is going to do a lot to help incentivize mass adoption, but also give more avenues to move around inside of the space. Granted, at the same time, you might be moving towards different goals than what other people are looking for. So like you talked about previously, having additional KYC could be a way to dox your wallet. It depends on who you are. If you're comfortable with the government and the IRS knowing all your details and being able to track everything, then it's not an issue for you. However, if you're somebody who enjoys the privacy and the anonymity and the freedom to do whatever you want unchecked, then this might not be a tool for you, or this might be a move kind of in a different direction for you. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for mass adoption to make the price go up, this is a great way to do that.
It's like you were talking about your friend earlier. I don't know if it was on Book Club or if it was on one of the previous channels, but you were talking about your friend using Robinhood because he doesn't give a shit about custody. He's like, I just want to own the price of the ticker symbol, you know? And so it's like, not everybody's going to want to have custody. Not everyone's going to want to do this stuff. Like the more options there are for people who are like less in the weeds that we are, the better. And, you know, everybody wins. And I like your analogy about like adding new lanes to highways and things. And it makes me think of like adding a bike lane to a highway, or like adding a bus lane to something. I mean, here's the thing is they're not ruining anything by making this, right? They're not taking anything out of play. They're not changing any of the stuff that we already have. They're just adding more options. So I think it's fantastic no matter how you spin it.
Correct. You're not losing anything here. If anything, you're just gaining and the ecosystem is expanding. I think Crypto Sloth is trolling us on this one.
Yay.
He says, I like the government knowing everything about it. Makes me feel safe.
Well, what's great about the government is that we can trust them absolutely. Like the government did the Holocaust, the government did Holodomor, the government did the Great Leap Forward, the government did like Operation Paperclip, the government did, you know, all sorts of wonderful and excellent things that we can all like. We've all got like just we're overflowing with trust in this fantastic and highly efficient, very trustworthy, and like, you know, smart and economically safe and sound group of people that, you know, control everything regarding our lives and everything like that. So I agree with you, Sloth. 110%. And it's just really a damn shame that I lost all my hardware wallets and all my guns in that tragic fishing accident. And I wish I could go back and collect it all, but it is what it is. So
true. I think the what is the
essential? Oh my gosh,
go for
Cassie Kelly. No, just Cassie Kelly in the comments. Oh man.
I mean, this is also a good point to throw in the
it, but you know.
This is where the Benjamin Franklinism comes in, which is those who give up liberty to attain safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. So.
Yep. It's just like a man who would shave his beard for a woman will have neither and deserves neither either. So
yeah, that's a good one. That is good. That is good. But yeah, I totally agree with the both of you, right? Obviously, there is the concerns, right? If you are going to engage in this service, then look, 100% honest. The data exists in the blockchain, so it's not like the government doesn't have the ability to go in there and hire a bunch of experts who are hyper competent and being able to track down wallet addresses, and that they're not going to be able to find you, right? That information is there for them to acquire if they desired so, and they certainly have the capital and the manpower to do all of that, right? So I'm not going to make any bones about it. But the thing this is going to do is, if you choose to engage in it, it is going to make them it's going to make that process a lot easier, right? Because you're inevitably going, like, you're going to dox your wallet, and it's going to, because Visa has that in their like ledger of transactions, right? It's going to be a lot easier for them to find you in that regard, right? So there's obviously negatives to it, right? We were talking about this in the green room. I say this every time. For every give me, there's a gotcha. Right? It's never just going to be 100% pure profits, right? A lot of people, like, let's talk about making money, for instance, right? People think, oh, becoming a multimillionaire, it's just all upside. No, my dear, it's not all 100% upside, right? Acquiring that much money all at once has a ton of downsides that you can't possibly plan for, right? So it's like, everything in life exists like that, and you have to learn how to balance and navigate between the two, right? And so, yes, go ahead, Will.
Go ahead. It's not finish your thought, because I got a caveat to it, bro.
Gotcha. I was just gonna say, right, for the bad stuff, right? Obviously, we don't want our privacy invaded any more than the degree it already is. We don't want to dox ourselves to that degree. But like Zenith said, he did the highway analogy, right? If you think like L2s, what do L2s provide? They provide other lanes in the highway for people to come in and do transactions, so that it's not super congested in the super highway Ethereum highway, right? Same thing here. If I know a lot of new people who have issues onboarding and offboarding money from exchanges because they have such strict KYC limits, right? That, like, oh, sorry, I know that this is your money, but we think this transaction might be fraudulent. You're going to have to wait 5 to 7 business days before your funds clear. If you don't have the luxury of waiting 5 to 7 business days, now you have another option through Visa's and Transact's partnership with MetaMask, right? You're not going to have to wait 5 to 7 business days to sell your crypto into fiat if you needed that capital, right? So, like, if you give me, there's a gotcha. Will, go ahead.
Yep. I was going to say, bro, when you were talking about like the rich people having problems too, I'm reading a fantastic book right now called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And I think that that's an excellent book. And Zenith, I want to actually talk to you about future book club stuff, bro. I have some golden ideas, but I don't want to like blast them out like while we're live, because this is good stuff. Anyways, but I was reading this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and one of the things that he talks about in that book is like there's a like the point of life and the point of like getting happy is solving problems, right? Rich people have problems and poor people have problems, and when you stop being a poor person, you start being a rich person, your problems just change. Right? Instead of having no money problems, you now have lots of money problems, and you can choose what kind of problems you have, like throughout life. You know, like people who are overweight have problems, and people who are fit have problems. You just get to choose the type of problems that you want to employ, or not employ, but that you want to entertain and you want to solve and stuff. So it's like everyone has problems, and there is no getting rid of problems. You just trade your old problems for newer problems that hopefully you enjoy solving more than you do the old problems, things like that. So it's a very excellent book. I highly recommend everybody read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Looks like he's pitching that to you, Z.
Oh yeah. So
consider it on the list.
Yeah, so we will talk, Zenith.
Is that Manson? Is it Manson, Will?
Oh,
Mark
Charles
Manson.
No, it was not Charles Manson.
Oh, okay. I thought that was all. He wrote another. No.
I'm fucking with you, bro. Charles Manson was the guy who killed a bunch of people.
Yeah. I was like, hold up, isn't that a?
Was he the cannibal?
Maniac?
No. He was okay. So here's another thing that the government did not do. The government definitely didn't give a CIA operative a whole bunch of LSD to go give to other people to then convince them to kill people. The government would never do that, and then they wouldn't put him in prison once he took a bunch of the LSD and started believing his own bullshit. But you know, it's more things that the government would never do. That if you ever have the chance, look into Charles Manson. Actually, don't really do it, because it's not really a profitable excursion. It'll just like make you not believe in the CIA anymore. Not that you should, anyways.
The author you guys want is Mark Manson.
Mark Manson. No relation to Charles or Marilyn Manson. So
Yep. In
There you
case people have not noticed, the stack of books continues to grow day by day. And if
Yes,
you have
it
any book
does.
recommendations that you want to see on the book club, please put them in the Telegram chat or throw them in the live stream. Chances are I will probably just go buy it on Amazon and then add it to the stack as a reminder for later. As of right
Gonna
now,
need
we
more
are trying
background
to
space.
True. We are trying to pick out the book for next, not next week, but the week following that one. I want to say it is the 23rd of February. Right now, my short list of books includes Think and Grow Rich and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So if you want any more to add to the poll before we put it in Telegram chat, let me know.
Sloth here with another comment. He says, I just can't wait to put all of my value in CBDCs. That way, the government has complete control over me and my finances. Probably the best thing I could do with my money. Yeah.
100% agree, bro. 100%.
Yeah. I think Sloth is being facetious there, but yeah, we don't want CBDCs. Again, it's like it's another one of those things, right? If you use the government backed stablecoin, that's another way that you're going to be doxing yourself. So, right? It's pick your poison, But like we've been on the subject for a while, but
Yes,
there's benefits and consequences to everything, right?
We've
like
got-
like Will, go ahead, Will.
I was just gonna say, we've got the benefit of having more articles to cover, and the consequence of we're like an hour and 45 minutes into this stream.
Yeah. For the folks interested in the next article that we were going to cover, we were actually going to go over a few clips for the Janet Yellen. She is the commissioner for, I think, what is it here? Let me get the name of her organization. She is the head of the
Treasury.
Financial Stability and Oversight Council, right? And that's just basically the organization trusted by the government in order to create plans and to take initiative to navigate around potential future financial crises, right? And what she basically did was appear in front of Congress, in front of the House Financial Services Committee, and say, guys, I think there is a lot more room for crypto regulation moving forward because we have identified some gaps in the regulation, in particular for stable coins, obviously preventing things like not just bank runs like what would happen with Silvergate and Silicon Valley Bank, although Silicon Valley Bank was not really super related to crypto to the degree that everybody thinks it is, to prevent things like the depegging of stable coins, right? I think that if we are going to have regulations here in the United States for these kinds of assets, that the companies need to be like, hey, here's our treasury. Our stable coins are back one-to-one with this collateral, this asset. And so the consumer can come in, take that stable coin and have it in their wallet, use it with the peace of mind, knowing that it's not going to depeg on them like what happened with Circle earlier this year, what happened with Luna and what's their stable coin called?
Terra. Oh,
Terra.
Luna.
Yeah,
I don't know if Terra was the stable coin, but I think
USD. USD, sorry. USD was the stable coin. Yeah, US
Okay.
Terra. But yeah, so that's basically what her pitch was to Congress. So if you guys wanted to look, unfortunately, we're not gonna have enough time to go through all of the clips. So if you guys wanted to take a look at it, that is available for you on YouTube. Right? They go over a whole bunch of like key details, like there was a clip in there. I don't know if you guys saw it, but at the very end, right? I think it was Hill's. Congressman Hill asked her like, hey, you were responsible for enforcing some of the tax regulations that we had on crypto for the 2023 tax season, right? And he was kind of bagging on her, but then what what Paul Barron highlighted during one of the clips was there is a clause in the IRS a website that basically says until such a time that Congress comes out with proper regulation for like the crypto market as a whole, we basically have a very difficult time doing taxes for crypto, right? So it's like if you want us to be able to tax the market properly, then you're going to have to move forward with some regulations. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us to move forward with the things that you want us to move forward with, right? Like we can't tax these people properly if there's no infrastructure in place, there's no guidelines in place for you telling us on how to tax them properly, right? So
well, what that part is, honestly, is just them saying, hey, we want this law in place so we can tax people. And then the IRS is like, okay, cool, we want to do that. However, there's no law to abide by, so we can't tax people. And also, you better get on it quickly because you can't retroactively apply law.
Yes.
It only can be applied in the future.
Exactly.
So it's like the IRS is literally missing out on money because Congress can't get something passed. So, you know how much the IRS wants their money. Look, I'm fine with it. I like that. I'm a fan. However, the IRS wants their pound of flesh and they want it now.
Yeah. Yep. Because guys, consider this. If the regulators had been able to create laws surrounding taxation in crypto, if you didn't file your like, oh, I know one guy. This guy, bro. When I saw what he did, he would have basically committed a federal crime, right? But because the IRS doesn't really have any guidelines as to how to properly tax these people, there's no law in place yet. He might not financial or legal advice or tax advice. For God's sakes, do not follow in this dude's footsteps, right?
At your own risk.
Yeah, do it at your own risk. But like Paul Barron said it at that in the video. He's like, yeah, this would have been a federal crime if they had, if you didn't file correctly, and that they would have gotten regulation through within that tax year. But since there's nothing in place, the IRS is like, well, we can't really do anything, guys. Our hands are tied. We can't tax these people if we don't know how to tax them properly. So
right. I'm perfectly fine with the government never coming to any conclusions on any sort of decisions they ever try and implement. That is 100% A-okay with me.
Oh, no.
You're saying there's a chance. You're goddamn right, Antoine.
Antoine.
You are goddamn right.
Be careful, brother. There's a large degree of sarcasm and satire there in what you're saying, but be careful, right? Approach at your own risk. Okay. Uncle Sam always gets his pound of flesh.
Yep. I'm gonna drop the link for the Janet Yellen thing in the chat for the folks at home who did not have the opportunity for that. While I'm finding the link, you want to go ahead and swing into the next thing you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of the video, it's a short video. Paul Barron, I like watching him. He's not a fan of Richard Hart. But again, you separate the wheat from the chaff, right? It's like, yeah, he misses on Richard Hart, but he does a lot of good work doing analysis on all the different news events out there in crypto. So I really like him as a resource. It's a short watch, 11 minutes. He boils down basically the juicy bits of that hearing, because it's a 2-hour hearing. If you don't want to go through all of that dry deliberation, then watch his analysis. It's very good, clear, concise, and definitely a lot of he's got a good sense of humor. But that's all we wanted to cover. Zenith, why don't you tell the people where they can find you, what you got planned over the next few days, over the next coming weeks, what can they expect, and then we'll close it out here.
Sure thing. I didn't. We are unfortunately skipping 2 of the articles, so I'm going to do a quick 30 seconds on each of those.
Oh, Number 1, go ahead.
You're good. The Apple Vision Pro officially launched. That is Apple's augmented reality goggles. You've probably seen memes and TikToks and clips of them all over the place. I just want to say they did end up selling about 200,000 units, which equates to $700 million of revenue for Apple regarding this. The reason I wanted to mention this is because, in my personal opinion, I think virtual reality and Web3 development are intrinsically linked, and they're kind of tied together. If you have read The Sovereign Individual, the chapter that talks about future ideas such as like a cryptocurrency is also intrinsically tied to the idea of virtual reality or the future of Web3. So we've tried a lot of this stuff in the past. Virtual reality is very difficult to pull off, especially considering that humans get very nauseous quickly with that sort of stuff. Apple is taking a bit of a different direction with augmented reality. What that is basically imagine that your computer screen is now just overlaid on the real world. It's not creating an entirely new world. but this is Apple's novel take on it. The reason I think that this is a noteworthy one as well is because it's Apple. These are the people that invented the iPhone and revolutionized, honestly, the world in the last decade based on that one change to mobile technology. So if there's anybody that's going to pull this one off, it might be these guys. Lastly, I did want to give a shout out to everybody that tuned into my stream covering the Shrapnel Early Access on Friday. I apologize I didn't quite get around to it on Saturday, had some personal stuff come up. However, at the same time, I got to say, I think the Early Access event was a mixed bag when it comes to a successful launch, and then also there's a good way to go. Notably, if you take a look at the singular map that they had on offer, there was a good chunk of the map that was highly detailed, good resolution, good textures, very cool aesthetic. And then there was another half of the map that you could tell was kind of added on, and it was very blank buildings that were rectangular looking. But overall, the game, I think, was fun gameplay from that standpoint. I do want to see a lot more because they didn't give you much to play with. However, at the same time, they did run their own official competition and ended up giving away $100,000 in prizes, specifically in the Shrapnel token. So I'm curious to see what that's going to do on the market. I think those prizes are getting distributed towards the end of this week, which means that there might be some interesting market movement as some traditional gamers and non-crypto types find a way to quickly dump those tokens and turn it into cold hard cash.
Yeah. Hey, Zenith. So it seems like I glanced over here at our production chat, and it seems like you guys are okay with going a little bit long. So we could. Are you guys still good, or should we close it out?
I'm good to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, if you guys are fine. Yeah, going a little bit longer.
I was watching the Super Bowl.
I have a little bit of time here. So yeah, let's stay actually on that topic of both the Apple Vision Pro and the Shrapnel Early Access, right? On the Apple Vision Pro, so was it just released at certain stores, or is that like widely available everywhere already? Like, but there's like limited supply.
I think it's widely available. You got the price point on this one is going to be that differentiator for a lot of people. It was $3.5K. That's before tax as well. So if you're willing to pay $3.5 for a fancy computer screen that you apply to your face, then I guess this is for you.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Because the reason why I asked if it was out or not, I saw somebody with the damn thing yesterday, right? So me and the waifu were at Tempe Marketplace. We're at this pizza place that I've been wanting to try for a long time. It's called Luminati's deep dish Chicago style pizza, right? Don't kill me. I've never had deep dish pizza before. It was my first experience having deep dish pizza, and so Luminati's did a great job. But as we were waiting for our order, right, we see this dude just walking around the restaurant. Right. And this is in a big like central marketplace, right? Whole bunch of strip malls, whole bunch of cars like going back and forth. And this dude just on the sidewalk, bro, he's just walking with his Vision Pro. like taking it and playing out there in real life. Like that was crazy to me. It's like you talk about somebody taking their gaming anywhere, bro. Like this takes the cake. And I'm just kind of questioning, like there's got to be some hazard, like Apple got to be covering their asses really well, because if this guy would have walked into traffic while wearing one of their gears, I can see just a lawsuit waiting to happen. Do you know how Apple has covered their asses in terms of like the legal issues that will inevitably come forward with people taking this out onto the streets and getting into accidents? Guarantee it's going to happen.
This poses a significant risk. Again, if anything, the best comparison that I can probably draw with this is back when Pokemon Go got released in 2016, and there was worries about like people overcrowding piers or something. Or I remember it was like a week or two before you got the actual first report of someone dying from playing Pokemon Go. But people are going to do dumb things. Accidents are going to happen.
That's their own damn fault.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Apple maybe has a little bit of a case saying like, look, this is just augmented reality. You can technically see through the device, therefore you are still responsible for your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's it's a decent argument in my opinion.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not a judge though, Zenith. So I'm willing to bet that there's some fucker out there who's gonna hire a lawyer who's super duper like, oh man, I love me some money. and then they're going to ruin it for
Mhm.
everyone, and then Apple's
Bet.
going to be like, yeah, fiddlesticks. Well, now we got to figure something out.
Mm.
It's like this is the Sue happy Western world that we live in.
Yeah.
Antoine over here, not approving of my decision to have some deep dish pizza, but hey, buddy, I like New York style pizza a lot better. I just wanted to give it a try, bro. Now
like
he's gonna take back all of his super chats.
We've cut off our main financial source for the DGen Roundtable by eating delicious deep dish pizza. I like deep
Oh.
dish pizza. I like New York pizza. I like it all. It's all fucking delicious. I just can't
Yeah.
eat too much of it because I'll get fucking fat. I hate it. Gotta eat.
My
Cassie Kelly
opinion,
here
I don't think
Go
much
ahead, Dee.
tops a good pepperoni New York slice of pizza. Extra wide,
Sure.
fold it, red pepper, good to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cassie
Cassie Kelly here
Yeah.
says a lot of people did really stupid crap like what you're describing when Pokemon Go first came out. Guilty as charged. I was Pokemon going and driving at my local park here, and I actually hit the damn curb and popped my tire, one of my tires, when I had the Pontiac.
Oof.
Yep, that's
Oh.
guilty as charged. That was me. I
Yep.
was Pokemon going and driving. Thankfully, it was in a local park. It was not on the highway, and I certainly learned my lesson after that.
Yep.
A game
we got-
may be free, but you can pay for it in other ways.
Yeah, the
Antoine
new tire
the-
cost me about $150. So
You
Tires
didn't
ain't
mess
cheap,
up
bro.
the rim, did you? It was just the rubber.
no, thank goodness it did
Yeah.
not hit the rim. But it was
Yeah.
like, folks, just because you're only going 5 miles an hour does not mean you can't fuck your shit up. All right, I was
Oh, yeah.
going very slow. Hit the curb and boom, destroyed the tire.
Fun fact, they remove all the Pokemon and gyms from our state fairgrounds because of people driving and crashing while playing Pokemon Go. That I've seen this. I saw this really cool picture of some like Chinese guy, and he had this like phenomenal like deer antler setup on his
Yep.
bicycle that had like,
was like dozens of
70 or
phones?
80 phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just doing the Go
was like-
thing. Yeah, going all over the place. What a fucking G. What a boss. But yeah, like
I
people
hope you
like
got some Chinese.
yeah, people who do that stuff are a bit silly. We also got Antoine in the chats again talking about the pizza and his feelings of betrayal. And to that I gotta say, Antoine, some people like pickles on their hamburgers. Some people don't like pickles on their hamburgers.
Some people like anchovies in their pizza, Antoine.
The betrayal.
Are you not going to donate to them too, Antoine?
We love you, Antoine, and we appreciate your opinions, even if we do not necessarily agree with all of them. Oh yeah.
But
I'm
hey,
not gonna
guys, speaking of,
Go for it.
go ahead, Z. Go ahead. Oh no, I was just
gonna
gonna say,
s-
speaking of shrapnel, I almost completely forgot, but we had a question in our Telegram chat. This is from Jesse, and maybe you guys can give your input on this. I gave a little bit of my input on the chart on the chat. We can elaborate more since we're on the topic of shrapnel. He asks, "Is shrapnel a very similar play to alluvium? Is it a short-term hold or is it a long-term hold like alluvium? Can you
That kind of play.
Yep. Can you folks give us your thoughts on not just alluvium and shrapnel in general, but how do you determine whether something is going to be a long-term play or a short-term play for Jesse? Because I promised him that we were going to answer that question today.
So, alluvium is a bit of a different case than something like shrapnel. In my opinion, I think that's the reason, because alluvium is more of a platform and a stable of games. It's really investing in an entire publisher who's building up a catalog, as opposed to something like shrapnel or any of the other individual GameFi projects out there, which is that the Shrap token is used exclusively and only for the game Shrapnel itself. Meanwhile, alluvium, there are many ways to interact with that ecosystem. When it comes to shrapnel, they're trying to do something similar, with the idea that if you are a really good player, like a pro, you can win tournaments or something that happen on a weekly basis. If you make good maps and the community likes the maps that you make, you can actually get paid in Shrap for that. And then also at the same time, if you're an NFT collector or holder, you can find a way to kind of like trade within the NFT marketplace of all the gear that's used in game or exclusive cosmetic items. For example, like even with this early access thing that happened this weekend, even if you didn't get top 1,000 on the leaderboard, as long as you completed some of those basic challenges, you earned character and weapon skins that are NFTs that you can trade however you like. And as a result, those are exclusive because the event happened, can't ever get them again. So with Shrapnel, it's, if you like the game, in my opinion, it's something that's worth taking a little bit of a shot with. It's like, specifically with the GameFi stuff, this, I can't remember if we talked about this in the green room or on stream on Tuesday, Jay, but with GameFi, it's that we're counting on like 1, 2, or 3 of these games really hitting it off and getting that mainstream adoption. And as a result of having cryptocurrency aspects involved in it, whatever token it is associated with, that is also going to take off as a result. That doesn't mean the entire GameFi market is going to take off. It just means that there's going to be a few winners. That's what we at least think. So it's possible to kind of cover your bets. It's like, kind of imagine going to the roulette table and you bet on a bunch of individual numbers, hoping that one of them hits, because when you do hit, it's going to hit big. Is that a good analogy for that?
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How about you, Will? I know you might not necessarily be involved in some GameFi projects unless they're pulse chain related, but can you give Jesse some insight? How do you determine whether an asset is something that you're gonna have a long-term position in, or something that's just a scratcher bet? Maybe you swing trade it for a cycle and then you're out. Like, do you have a process that you could share with Jesse as far as like how you determine whether something is a long or a short-term play for you?
I'm trying to find Jesse's comment in here. Who's Jesse? Do you mean Cassie?
Oh, no, my friend. Jesse asked this question in our Telegram chat yesterday, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And repeat the question again. How do I determine
how do you determine whether a project is something that you're going to invest in and hold long term, or if it's something that you're maybe in and out within a single cycle, you're swing trading it?
Was this specifically for GameFi?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, for GameFi?
No. It doesn't have to be for GameFi, Will, because how you determine whether something is a short or a long-term hold, right? That's a skill that you apply no matter what sector of the crypto market you're in, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have that technique, I'm sure, when you're considering projects for Richard Hart tokens.
I mean, I consider core coins to be long-term, and I consider everything else to be speculative short-term plays. It's basically, so I select a lot of my longer term coins based on the I don't know, more of like a religious belief than on anything like technically grounded in some sort of like use case or scenario, because I came to the conclusion a long time ago that basically the only thing that gives anything in life, whether it's like cryptocurrency assets or real world stuff like cars and bikes and time and food and health and all that, anything that gives anything value is like us sacrifice something for it, and also us like telling stories about why we like it. And so I just look for good storytellers. I look for people that are good at making sales pitches and also good at like making products. And so that's where like Richard Hart comes in. And that's why like I'm fond of all of his coins, is because he's a good storyteller. He's great at getting people together, and he's great at creating like sticky communities that like, they're able to carry on momentum without him being involved. Right. So I'm a like a from that perspective, I don't look at like use case, or I don't look at like market cap, or I don't look at any of those things. I look at like what is the what's the like momentum of value that I think this thing has, and then that determines whether or not I decide if it's going to be a short or long term play. Some of like the fun stuff, like Pepe is like, oh, this is emotions. This is like people getting crazy. So it's like, this is like, hey, got to get in now and sell in a minute. And it's like, this is just like, I'm literally gambling here, right? I'm just riding the waves, baby. And so like, I adopt the surfer mindset of like, get in when you see a good wave and get out when the wave's over. And like most of the time, like when you're surfing, you see the good waves, and it's like, or at least in my instance, in my, because I don't surf waves, I windsurf, right, using a board and a sail and everything. So I understand how surfing works, and so I'm going to try and explain it as best I can understand it. But in surfing, like, there's a lot of times where you're on a surfboard and you see a wave and you can't get to it and you can't ride it, and it's like, oh damn, well I missed that one. But then you can see a cool wave coming because you understand how to read the patterns of the water, and you can figure it out, and then you prep the board, and then you you get ready, and then if you're set and you're practiced and you've gone through the cycles and you've experienced the pain of falling off the board or losing money or whatever a whole bunch of times, and you can catch that wave and you can ride it for as long as it's good, and then you hop off when the going's
Going's
over.
gone. Yeah, the going's
Yeah,
gone.
so like that's how I would approach my more gambly plays is kind of like
Mm.
surfing. And for the more long-term plays, I look for people that are
narratives.
able to be good storytellers, and
Yeah.
through their storytelling, they can build a large mass of following. So like
Yeah.
whether it's Elon Musk or whether it's Donald Trump or whether it's Brian Boitano or whether it's, whoever the hell it might be. Like if they're able to tell stories and keep people enthralled, and then not only like keep people enthralled, but like convince people to do their own work on their own and generate more value. So like
Yeah.
I see it as like a value snowball that as it's going down the hill, it's branching off other snowballs that are then building up their own thing and just like collecting all the snow and making this crazy big avalanche.
Mhm.
So that's what
Yep.
I look for when it comes to like longer term plays. So
Yeah. Jump in here
Definitely.
real quick.
That's what I got.
When
Yep.
you want to talk about the mentality of how you make the plays, I think it depends on your overall portfolio strategy. What I'm talking about with this is, I think this is what I do personally. I think about my portfolio in like 3 different sectors. The first one is my blue chips. These are the things that I think are going to last the test of time and are going to continue to perform. They're not going to be my highest performing. However, I think they're the most stable and they're the most guaranteed. So that's about 50% of my portfolio. After that, we start to move into some of the more speculative bets. But for me, this is also still pretty sure stuff based on all the research and all the conviction that I have. This is my RH ecosystem. This is Pulse, PulseX, and Hex and stuff like that. And all the other projects like Liquid Loans and some of the Mintra stuff, I guess. And then I guess technically DRT would fall in here. But then after that, we get towards my experimental stuff. This is where I think GameFi falls for me, which is that the reason I look at these as very asymmetric bets, therefore they have to be a smaller percentage of the portfolio because the returns are higher, but also the downside is higher. Therefore, if you kind of look at the whole portfolio from the 10,000 foot perspective, you can get an idea of what my goals are as an investor. And that everything is going to go back to that question for who you are as an investor and what you want to get out of your portfolio. If you want to chase massive gains, chances are you're not going to be holding a lot of Bitcoin. You're probably going to be holding a lot more speculative things like L1s, L2s, maybe even meme coins if you think that there's possibility there. However, if you're kind of that more safer traditional standpoint like myself, I'm focused on stacking small wins, which is why the blue chips have such a heavy chunk in my portfolio. However, at the same time, yeah, we are a DGen Roundtable, so about half of my portfolio is non-blue chips or non-standard bets, so to speak.
Well, and it's, Will made a very good analogy there with the surfing thing, right? I think that's a perfect way to think about meme coins, right? It's like if you catch the wave, then you enjoy it and ride it up, and then exit when it dies down, right? Because it comes and goes in those peaks and valleys, right? And it doesn't last forever. So that's actually a perfect analogy. And I know that you were saying about how you look for good storytellers and good narratives when you're entering. I'm assuming within the Wretched Heart ecosystem, right? But like even outside of the RH ecosystem, you could apply that to things like GameFi, right? Can they build a good narrative and story around their game? When me and Z were covering Illuvium last Tuesday, we spoke about how one of Kieran's main points about why he believes Illuvium is going to be successful over something like Palworld is because Palworld doesn't have the narrative, it doesn't have the story, it doesn't have the lore. So there's no storytelling when it comes to Palworld, right? I made this comparison during the same stream is that one of the main reasons that people have such an attachment to Pokemon is because they grew up watching the anime, right? Like they watch Ash, Brock and Misty go through the the Indigo League, and then Ash, for those who have still been following the anime, Ash finally won a damn Pokemon World Championship, right? It only took him 20 years to do it, but he finally became a Pokemon master, right? And that's the story that people have been following for decades. That's how you get folks attached to something, right? You create the story and narrative around it. So if Illuvium can build that kind of storytelling in their game that people latch onto, I brought up The Last of Us, right? What did people latch onto? It was a story of Joel and Ellie. If people can create that kind of narrative around Illuvium, then yes, you are going to experience the kind of success that I think everybody believes in, right? When it comes to that studio and their suite of games as a whole. Now, to answer Jesse's question, right? There's a few things that I consider when it comes to Shrapnel and Illuvium, right? Zenith already went over a few of those things here. Well, being that Illuvium is a suite of games versus Shrapnel's one, so I'm not going to cover that again. But what I look for when it comes to, okay, is Shrapnel going to be something that I'm going to bet on the long term? And the question is and the answer to that question is yet to be determined. And the reason why I say yet to be determined is Illuvium launched sometime, I think, in 2021, right? And so they have already survived the bear market, right? So there is that stamp of approval from me saying that you, as a team, as a platform, have survived the bear market when everybody else either rugged or quit, right? And so if you are successful in Overworld and whatever other games that you choose to release this cycle, right, that is going to solidify my faith in you as an investor, and it's going to make me more likely to invest in your projects long term and to hold your token long term, right? Because if they succeed in this cycle, what that means is they're probably going to accumulate a lot more capital, which means they can act on the vision that they spoke about during that 2024 State of the Union address. And their vision is to create more games in that line that is going to utilize every single asset that you have as a player and as an investor, right? So that's only going to be good. And if they accumulate more capital because they succeed, they're going to be able to do that next bear market, which means that is going to make it more likely for me as an investor to hold on to that token, because now not only have you survived the bear market, but your product obviously has succeeded, right? We know now that there is market demand for your product, which is, displayed by the success that you've achieved, right? And so that's number one. Illuvium has survived the bear market, right? Shrapnel has not survived the bear market yet, right? And so we don't even know, number one, if their game is going to be good, right? If there's going to be widespread adoption. And we do not yet know if they have the capacity to survive a bear market. So that's yet to be determined. Here's a few things that you can watch out for, Jesse, right? If you watch us back on the replay, you can... So here are a few things that Illuvium did over the bear market that really told me, okay, these guys are not going anywhere, right? They were continuously hiring more people, right? They were working on collaborations with esports companies, with influencers, with like the partnership that they had with GameStop. They had that big land sale over the bear market in 2022. Everybody remembers that big land sale happened during the bear market, right? So they were continuously producing content, creating new projects. They were still engaged. That's another thing. They were still engaged in social media, even during the bear market. So those are some of the things that I look for when I consider, okay, does this project have the potential to survive during these hard times, right? So, like, here's just an example. If for example, Shrapnel does well during the bull market, okay, fantastic. But in the bear market, when everything is taking a shit, what happens? They disengage in social media. They start laying people off. You go into their Telegram chats. What is the player base doing in the Telegram chats? Are they still speaking? Are they still active? Are the founding members, right, the people higher up the chain, are they still engaging? What's happened to the player base during the bear market? Are there still people interacting in the game, right? When you go to a matchmaking sequence in Shrapnel, is it taking forever for the matchmaking to find players? Right. So like these are just some of the things that you can look out for, some red flags that you might want to consider when it comes to, okay, is this game going to be here for the next cycle, or are they done? All right. So those are just some of the key things that I look out for personally. Will, did you have anything to add to it?
I would be excited if some of the larger game companies that already exist that basically have microtransaction abilities in their games just found a way to automatically, like, even if it was their own like small level like blockchain-esque sort of thing, if they just found a way to like create wallets for their players and just like pass them out and do their own thing, like if I don't know what like Roblox does, but dude, Roblox has its
They're so
own
big.
fucking... huge economy.
Bro.
Fortnite has their own economy. Sea of Thieves has an economy. World of Tanks has an economy. Like all these games that have microtransaction abilities, like if there was some way for players to buy and sell assets to each other, and like the guys, like it would just open up a whole new marketplace of idea. That's what I really want to see in the gaming space. Isn't so much like new games being made. It's like if the new games being made are excellent enough and they work well enough that it can convince the guys that already have stuff, like, you know, Rockstar or EA or Ubisoft or Bethesda or whatever, to implement cryptocurrency stuff or like NFT stuff in their games that already exist. I think that would be super awesome. But like it would just take a lot of like convincing and a lot of work, and the money would have to be right, and that's something that I think would be really cool. So those are my thoughts. I don't know much about anything gaming. I know I gotta scratch a ticket in the Polemos stuff, and then like I'm interested in hearing about Illuvium, and like Shrapnel sounds like it's pretty cool. But I think that if they're successful enough that they can convince the bigger game conglomerates to start doing things, then I think that would be really nifty. I'd be inclined to hear Crypto Kool-Aid's thoughts on this, because I know he does a lot of stuff in the game development world.
Yeah.
So I might reach out and see if we can pick his brain on that sort of thing. And you know,
That'd be
I'm
fun.
sure he would have his thoughts and whatnot. But yeah, that's what I got.
Cool.
When it comes to crypto integration in Web3 gaming, I think the big question that you have to answer for any of the games is, why does this game need crypto integration? Because it's pretty much cryptocurrency is a new form of currency. It is trying to replace the existing system, which is probably the US dollar for most games, which is, why does this system work better using crypto as opposed to just having people swipe credit cards? And I think part of that question can be answered by games that use cryptocurrency for the basis of their entire business structure, such as collecting venture capital funds for initial investment, and then also trying to incorporate other things like NFTs. If you want to have NFTs, there's a high probability that cryptocurrency has the ability to slot very well next to it as a revenue system for it, because a lot of NFTs are valued in the price of cryptocurrency as instead of dollars. So the existing system of the US dollar or a Visa credit card is super easy and super widely adopted already. It is the world reserve currency. You are trying to find a reason to replace the world reserve currency for your project. You can make a compelling case. I can totally understand it. And in my opinion, I think that the use of cryptocurrency to substitute that kind of thing has a little bit of a history. When you see games that have their own like currencies in them, sometimes you'll have like a free currency and a paid currency, like there'll be like a gold versus a gems kind of thing. That's like a very low level idea of this. Now, if you can fully transition that to blockchain, that's where you can get the full incorporation of a cryptocurrency like Illuvium or the Shrap token. I think Illuvium's been doing a good job because they used it as an incentive to get people to invest early. It says, hey, VC guys, if you want to invest in us, here's what you will receive when you make your investment. You're not necessarily going to get a portion of our company or ownership. However, we have an emission schedule for this cryptocurrency. And as the inflation, or as the supply inflates over time as a result of either airdrops or staking rewards, that sort of thing, we have a certain amount that's allotted for you, and that's where you will see your returns in this. But again, it comes back to, you got to answer the question, which is, why is cryptocurrency a better use than the US dollar for this project?
Yep. That's a very good point, because I think we can all think of a few examples off the top of our head of games where they put cryptocurrency in there as kind of like an afterthought, right? Where it didn't really have any utility outside of, you're going to play the game, you're going to earn the token, but the token doesn't really have any utility outside of you earning. It's like it was a play to earn kind of thing.
Yeah, the other end of that is exactly what you're talking about, which is that the cryptocurrency was so much of the focus that you sacrificed gameplay. So now you don't have a game, you just have a crypto.
Yep.
Exactly.
Crypto with shitty gameplay sides on it.
Yeah.
If you make a good game that people will want to play regardless, I think that's going to be the key for this next generation of Web3 gaming. Because in the past, we had play to earn. People got bored. They saw the downside of the massive inflation. Now, the way to really have good lasting success, in my opinion, is make a game that is a game first. And you're starting to see that, because there's even been talk within like the Shrapnel team, which is, we don't even know if we want NFTs or tokens upon game release, because they want to make sure that the game works before they have the crypto aspect to it. This is not. This is pretty common throughout a lot of the discussions I've seen online regarding where projects are at right now, which is that there's a lot more emphasis on gameplay and player experience first.
Yep. And that's exactly the kind of sentiment that you want coming out of these bigger game studios, right? If like the Shrapnel team comes out and say that, that gives me a lot more confidence. Obviously, in addition to, I mentioned this to Jesse in the chat, and he's actually watching live. And thanks us for our analysis. One of the main things that I've mentioned, like, this is a game in its alpha stages. Like, how often do you walk into a game in its alpha stages, and then the developers are like, look, we have $100,000 prize pool here for the players, basically testing out our game, right?
What
like,
that $100,000 is incentive to get people to come stress test your project.
Yes. And that's the fantastic thing about it, right? Because if they if they're offering people this much money just to stress test their damn project, so that they know, okay, where are the areas where like people were having issues in matchmaking, people were having issues with, I'm not getting a lot of responsiveness from the damn hitbox. I don't know if I've hit this person because it seems like I'm unloading on this person in close range and they're not dead, right? So like stuff like that. We were talking about the shotguns. They were very difficult to use, at least from the feedback that a lot of the other players were using. Not a very easy weapon to use in the game. So yes, the fact that they offered this much money for people to come on and like, hey guys, we just need you to stress test the game, tell us exactly where like we can improve, because we really want to like make this a fantastic game. So like that's another thing that you could be looking out for, Jesse. Like small stuff like that might go past a lot of people's heads. The fact that they're offering a large prize pool for a game in the alpha stages tells me that at the very minimum, these people are serious about the game, right? Otherwise, like, why would you put up that much money for a game in the alpha stages, right? So that's like another thing that I'm looking out for. And then like to kind of cap off Zenith, one of the points that Zenith made, right? Does the game need NFTs or not? Games like Illuvium, they've integrated NFTs pretty smartly into their games, because you're going to be able to use all of these different assets throughout like all of their games. So it's not like they're making you buy the same NFT over and over. They're like, look, we're glad that you're loyal to this game. The assets that you get in Overworld, you're going to be able to use that and carry them over to the other games that we're going to be able to produce, right? So it's not like it's just a money grab like you would get from something like a play to earn, right? It's like you're just earning the crypto, the supply is inflating. There is no incentive for people to hold on to that asset aside from just dumping it back into the market, right? Because there's no other use case for it. So those are the things that you kind of have to consider when it comes to, okay, like, are NFTs actually or is the crypto aspect actually something that's going to work for this game, or are they just using it as a way to like to generate revenue, right? And there's no other use case for the asset itself, right? Like Shrapnel, here's another example for Shrapnel. They have creator tools for people who want to come on and actually create NFTs for the game. Maybe you wanna create a skin for one of the operators. Maybe you want to create one of the skins for the weapons, right? They have creator tools specifically for people who might just want to create NFTs to put on the open marketplace, and then people go out there and buy it, right? So it's like when you think about it in that case, I'm like, okay, it actually makes sense, because what do we know about things like first-person shooters? People like literally spend hours upon hours and hours upon hours trying to hit prestige in Call of Duty just so that they can get the damn gold skin on their gun, right? So it's not like there's not a market for it, right? So in that way, it makes sense, at least to me personally. All right, did you guys have any other comments on this?
I was just going to give a final caveat. I don't even think half the team knows about Shrapnel or cares about it or is in support of it. The reason that I am personally interested / invested in this is because I'm a big fan of Escape from Tarkov and the looter shooter extract style of gameplay. I saw this. It's in the cryptosphere. It looks like a good team. I heard other people saying good things about it, so I gave it a shot. That's why I'm in this. I don't expect other people to be in it for that reasons, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and hey Z, if you ever get a chance, man, to give the people some some live gameplay footage. If you recorded your stream, bro, I think a lot of the people in our Telegram would who are interested in investing would probably like to see some of that gameplay. I know you and Jeff are playing it. I know Tracker is probably going to come out with like a deep dive because he's super heavily invested into Shrapnel. So yeah, I think that people will get some value out of that.
For sure, we'll put together the compilation of all my fails.
And on that note, guys, if there is nothing else, we have gone an extra half an hour for you folks. So thank you for
Just
all of
for
you
you.
who stayed. Because there's still 22 people watching us. So I mean,
Shout out to Boogie. Boogie's joined us as well.
yeah,
Hit the like
good to
button,
see you, buddy.
monkeys. Hell yeah. Oh, we got Willie B Long in here. We got Moonpill Rational Optics. Thanks for everyone in the chats making this a wonderful, excellent stream. Yeah, just
Absolutely.
sorry, Jay. Go ahead and keep doing
No,
your
I
thing.
was gonna say you could be out there watching football, but you're here watching with us. Z, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you've got over the horizon, and we can close this baby out.
Absolutely. If you are looking for books and book reviews related to crypto, personal finance, or just self-improvement, you can check us out on Book Club every other Friday. Again, we're looking for recommendations for books. I will take all the recommendations I have, and my shortlist will create a poll in the Telegram chat, which, by the way, get into using this QR code right here. And let us know what we should cover, not this Friday, but next Friday from now. Again, I'm Zenith. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ZenithDI. That is my new personal page if you want to reach me directly. And if you're looking for some good Hexagon memes or entertainment, you can check out Hexaco Space Force on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter as well. That is what I got. Will, where can the people find you?
I was trying to find more of your links and posting them up, but I got the Instagram one, so there you go. Links in the chat for Zenith's Instagram, folks. You guys can find me at linktree/Will Stevenson. That's where all of my work is at. That's where all of my socials are at. That's where all of my everything is at. You guys can find the DGen Roundtable links in there. You can find the Brothers Two of Them podcast. You can find a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. As far as stuff that I've been doing and what's going on in the near future, something just released tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The Proper Thieves podcast did an interview with me yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a link for that. Oh, never mind, they haven't sent it to me yet, but they're posting it up. They're going live tonight. The Proper Thieves podcast. I was there. Interview number 4, Quattro. So their whole idea is they're finding people with cool ideas and cool work and cool knowledge, and they're stealing all that knowledge away from them and then broadcasting it out to the rest of the world. So Proper Thieves, it's my good friend Andrew and Corbin, and they're just interviewing a whole bunch of people. So search them up on YouTube. I'm gonna see if I can find it while Jay is closing us out, and I'll try and post it up in the comments. But anyways, as far as other things that I'm doing, you can find it all at linktree/Will Stevenson. Make sure that you guys join the Telegram for the DGen Roundtable, like Zenith was saying. If you want to join another Telegram, I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the channel as well. It is t.me/hex_meetup. What that is that's a Telegram for all the Hexicans to go and find other Hexicans. It's like I want to say it's decentralized, but my Telegram is literally a centralized place. But anyways, it's a place for all you guys to go out. And if you're a Hexican in any part of any country, you can create a topic and you can say, hey, I live in Singapore and I'm a Hexican and I want to meet other Singaporean Hexicans. Right now, there's a whole bunch of individual hex rooms for all of the Hexicans all over the world. And it's kind of hard to navigate all of them. And if people are hopping around and moving all over the place, then, it's hard to find other Hexicans. So hop into t.me/hex_meetup and you can meet up with other Hexicans and don't have to wait for the lovely folks over at the Pulse Tour or the KSB TV to come to your area for you guys to do your own meetups. Speaking of, Pulse Tour is going on in the very near future next week, and they will be down in Houston, Texas. So make sure that you guys go to pulsetour.com, I believe. Sorry, SJ, if I'm pronouncing it wrong or saying the wrong link or something, but look up Pulse Chain Tour and get some tickets. Go hang out over in Houston. Zenith, are you going to be going to that one?
I am trying to go to the Houston one.
Okay.
Had some personal stuff come up with.
Oh yeah, that's
right. First,
yeah. So
I'll put it this way: I have a ticket. If I'm not going, I will be giving away my ticket.
There you go. I know that my brother is going to be going to that one as well, so it'll be super cool. There's tons of stuff going on, and they're going to be going to Vegas later, doing all sorts of crazy things. So, anyways, meet other Hexicans, meet other Richard Hart ecosystem fans, meet other Bitcoiners, meet other Cardano people. I don't give a shit if you're not a Hexican and you want to go meet Hexicans or you want to go meet just cool people, then join the damn Telegram and go say hi. Odds are you guys are all probably Hexicans because that's how you find your way over here. So that's what's going on with me. That's what I'm doing in the near future. I've also got a podcast with my brother where we're going to be covering another chapter of this book that is nearby me somewhere, Holy Grit, where we are going to be talking about the modern day application of quote unquote saintly wisdom, and how like a lot of religious wisdom is good for men and a lot of religious wisdom is maybe in our opinions not so effective as far as finding women and staying attracted to them and keeping them attracted to you. So anyways, we're going to be covering that on the 15th, I believe. Let me check my calendar.
Yep. I saw the first episode. It's a good first episode.
On the on the 15th. The first episode is pretty cool, but you guys can find that at the Brothers Two of Them podcast that is in my link tree. So that's all I got going on for me. Mr. J, why don't you go ahead and close us out, broski?
Yep, absolutely. As always, folks, thank you for joining us live, whether you're here with us right now or you're going to be joining us at the replay sometime in the near future. We know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you spend some of that here with us. You could be anywhere else. You could be watching the Super Bowl, but you're here learning about crypto, talking about GameFi, talking about Hex, talking about the Richard Hart ecosystem, and learning how to navigate your way into space. So, as always, you can find me on X at _P90Hex, on Instagram at agent_J Schroth, and you can find our Telegram links right there. I don't know how to point on it, but scan that QR code to join our Telegram. A lot of alpha in there, a lot of fantastic guys and gals who are more than happy and able to share their knowledge and their wisdom for you. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, you're an intermediate, you're an expert. Everybody is in there trying to help each other out, trying to help succeed. So please go ahead and join that. Won't always be free. So with that being said, we will catch you guys in our next episode, probably Whiskey Wednesday, if not Tuesday. Who knows? We might drop a surprise stream for you guys, but Whiskey Wednesday is our next planned stream. So until then, thank you guys once again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I think we might have
not
found our producer. Mrs. Producer, whenever you're ready, go ahead and
producer
roll
has an
those
announcement
end credits.
that I forgot.
Just kidding. Oh, I didn't check the private chat. All right, let's hear it. Oh, snap. Right. Okay.
We totally forgot. Fashion Coder is this Wednesday.
Yes.
Valentine's Day. We got Fashion Coder coming on as a special guest.
Look at me. I'm all the way down here in the bottom corner. This is excellent. I love it. We do it live.
Have replaced our logo.
It's all live, baby. It's all
but
good.
I just needed to pop in to say that we gotta let you all know we got Fashion Coder on Wednesday, guys. Don't miss it.
Excellent.
Yes,
thank you, Mrs. Producer.
Fashion Coder on Wednesday. Producer. Yep. As always, for producing and working hard in the backgrounds, because we can. Hey, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather be doing this job than Mrs. Producer's job because she has an infinitely more difficult job than I do. So once again, thank you for the assistance, Mrs. Producer. Thank you all of you once again for joining us tonight, and we will see you on Wednesday with Fashion Coder. Take care.